Chapter 737. 38 years. Do we only have 38 years left? The enemy's platoon leader is said to have reached Tier 14, and the platoon leader has reached the level of a Tier 15 dire beast. It is said that they are so powerful that they can destroy a planet with a single blow. How can our civilization resist them? What should we do? King Tsing-Hui, is there any way for our civilization to save ourselves? You are the only Tier 8 powerhouse of our civilization. No, you are a Tier 10 powerhouse. You are the hope of our civilization. That's right, King of the Green Ruins. What should we do next? Please give us your instructions, King Tsing-Hui. In another 38 years, our civilization will face a crisis of life and death. Only if everyone is united will there be a glimmer of hope to turn the situation around. As soon as Tsing-Hui finished speaking, the many members of the Supreme Council, who had become worried after learning the truth, could no longer sit still and voice their opinions. Tsing-Hui glanced at Antonio, the chairman of the Northern America region, who said that he was a Tier 10 powerhouse. He knew that if he handed the black-robed mages over to these people, not only would these people learn more about the mage civilization, they would also learn more about him. The fact that they were able to tell him that his true power level wasn't that of an apocalypse level or a challenger level, but that he was a level 10 lifeform was the best proof of this. Silence. Hearing the discussions below, Tsing-Hui gestured with his hand. Immediately, many of the important figures in the hearts of the people in the conference room stopped talking at the same time and looked at Tsing-Hui. For this matter, I already have a solution. If we humans want to rely on force to catch up and have the ability to stand shoulder to shoulder with the dire beasts, it will only be a pipe dream. Therefore, we can only work on what we are good at and constantly enrich ourselves. Finally, we can achieve the ability to compete with these extraterrestrial civilizations. At present, although the Earth Federation government has been established, in fact, the cooperation between the various sectors is still not very close. Right now, you already know what kind of enemy we are facing, so I hope that all the countries can cooperate wholeheartedly to let our Earth civilization survive the current crisis. And this is the cooperation I'm talking about. As Tsing-Hui spoke, he took out a document. This document was the result of his hard work in the past 20 hours. After making 9 copies, he gestured to his assistant to hand these 9 documents to the 9 chairmen. The 9 chairmen of the Supreme Council basically belonged to the hawkish faction of the military, so they were quite familiar with technological weapons. When they skimmed through the information Ching Su had passed over, they could not help but widen their eyes. This is mech? Mech manufacturing technology? Mech? Are we going to make mechs to fight these monsters? With spatial interference, the equipment in the mech will also be affected. Hearing one of the chairmen could not suppress the exclamation of surprise, whispers immediately among the crowd. Ordinary electronic products may be disturbed by the fluctuations emitted by the spatial channel, but this type of mech uses neural connection technology, which emphasizes the integration of man and machine. The spatial channel emitted by the spatial channel will interfere with the operation of the mech, but it will definitely not be significant. We only need to take targeted precautions, and we will be able to create mechs that can perform neural connection and resist the interference of spatial fluctuations. As Tsing-Hui spoke, he stretched out his hand and spread his 5 fingers. We don't need too many, just 5 of these mechs. I believe that the Earth Federation will be able to resist the next round of invasion by the mage civilization. These mechs, are they really as recorded in the document, King Tsing-Hui, that they have the combat power not inferior to a 10th order creature? Chairman Charlie, who was the fastest to look through the document, looked at Tsing-Hui and asked. The mechs can indeed exert the combat power of a 10th order creature, but your ability and the current level of technology on Earth are not enough to truly create a holy knight. Therefore, even if these mechs are completed, in the end, you will only be able to fight against a 9th order or even 8th order creature at best. Xing Hui spoke the truth. The technology involved in these mechs, we need to study it carefully. Even if you have provided us with detailed data, King Xing Hui, we may not be able to successfully create one in the next 10 years. One of the chairmen who had some understanding of scientific research showed a wry smile. The technology involved in these documents was too advanced. If you can't make it, then think of ways to research it. After thoroughly studying the manufacturing method of this divine mech, I need you to use this mech technology in all aspects to completely improve the technological level of Earth civilization, so that Earth civilization can change in the direction of technology as much as possible. You must have learned from those black-robed sorcerers that the star field we are in is actually in the territory of a great creature called the Time Lord, and this Time Lord is walking the path of technology. Earth civilization can only go in this direction, and when it comes into contact with other civilizations in the future, it won't be excluded and treated as an alien. Xing Hui said. Time Lord. Those black-robed mages said that the Time Lord radiated his power tens of trillions of light years. Is this true? Is there really a creature that can cultivate to such a level? One of the chairmen asked in disbelief. The distance of 1 light-year was like an insurmountable moat for the current human civilization, but now, according to the black-robed mage, the Time Lord's power could radiate tens of trillions of light-years. This was simply beyond the limits of their imagination. Time Lord, Xing Hui was silent for a moment. He vaguely guessed that the Time Lord, the Master of Gods, and the Lord of Chaos should be the greatest and most powerful existence in the infinite starry sky. This could be judged from the tip of the iceberg of the power displayed by the Lord of Chaos. If the Lord of Chaos was like this, then, the Master of Gods and the Time Lord, who were equally famous as him, would not be much worse. There must be countless worlds like the divine wilderness under their jurisdiction. However, an existence like the Time Lord is too far away from us. I'm afraid that even Sauron's group, who is about to bring us disaster, and even the supreme true god Axon behind Sauron, are like ants in front of the Time Lord. Therefore, don't ask too much, don't think too much, and think of a way to solve the crisis that our civilization is facing first. Xing Hui's words naturally made the 9 chairmen nod in agreement. Several chairmen looked at each other and secretly discussed for a while. In the end, it was Chairman Jiang Kunlun, who had the best relationship with Xing Hui, who came forward and pleaded, King Xing Hui, according to what we learned from the interrogation of those black-robed mages, the Time Lord has radiated his power to every corner of his jurisdiction and has built the Temple of Time in places where life has settled down. Anyone who is lucky enough to enter the Temple of Time can become a child of time. Once a child of time becomes a child of time, even if it is only the lowest level child of time, can borrow part of the great Time Lord's computing power. This part of computing power is not even comparable to a cell of the Time Lord, but if an ordinary person uses it, it is equivalent to having the latest optical computer. With the assistance of this part of computing power, any research can progress by leaps and bounds. The computing power of the Time Lord. Xing Hui heard from those black-robed mages that the Lord of Chaos had given the children of Chaos various characteristics, the Lord of Gods had given the children of God under him many divine spells, and the Lord of Time allowed the children of Time under him to borrow part of his computing power. At that time, he did not think too much about it, but now it seemed perhaps he could really plot something. But soon, he thought of something and shook his head to refuse. There is one thing that you don't know. There is a special enchantment in the Earth civilization, and the power of the Time Lord seems to be unable to penetrate it. So let's not talk about whether you can become a child of time. Even if you become a child of time, you can't borrow the power of the Time Lord here. Therefore, the research of this mech can only rely on you. After Xing Hui finished speaking, he once again took out a book of mental cultivation methods. This is the 9 chapters of the Forging Spirit technique. Cultivating it can enhance your mental power, so that you won't be defeated by your opponent on the mental level even though you have a powerful mech. Thank you, King Tsinghui, for your gift. When everyone saw that Tsinghui had taken out such a precious mental cultivation method, they all stood up one by one and bowed solemnly. Although I know that you must promote this 9 chapters of the Forging Spirit technique in the military to maintain the stability of society, the situation is different now. Earth civilization is facing a crisis, and we need the strength of everyone. Therefore, you might as well release the 9 chapters of the Forging Spirit technique one by one and establish a mental ability user association at the same time. On the one hand, you can prevent those with strong mental power from causing trouble. On the other hand, you can also unearth geniuses who cultivate mental power and focus on nurturing them. Don't worry, King Tsinghui. We will definitely discuss a safe method and hand it over to King Tsinghui for review. A few of the chairmen immediately expressed their stance. Tsinghui nodded. The reason why he took out the 9 chapters of the Forging Spirit technique and not other mental cultivation methods was mainly because this mental cultivation method was more neutral and peaceful. There would not be any major problems. For the Earth civilization that had just embarked on the mental cultivation system and had no experience to learn from, this mental cultivation method was obviously the most suitable. However, after taking out the 9 chapters of the Forging Spirit technique, he seemed to have thought of something. Once again, he took out the Galactic Funeral Oration. Not only could the cultivation of the Starseed funeral rites strengthen the mind, it could also strengthen the body. Even though the effects were weak and unsatisfactory, that was only for Ching Su. If everyone on Earth practiced the Starseed funeral rites, the effects might not be apparent in a short period of time, but in a few decades, it would be no problem for them to strengthen their bodies to the level of martial arts masters that represented the limits of mortals, or even martial saints. Chapter 738. The Galactic Funeral Rites, the 9-chapter Forging Spirit Technique, and the Mech Manufacturing Technique. No matter how similar these 3 pieces of information were, they could bring about subversive changes to the current structure of Earth's civilization. If Tsinghui kept any of them to himself or taught them to a small number of people, he could immediately create a behemoth that could overturn the current Earth Federation. However, Tsinghui did not hesitate to contribute these 3 pieces of information to the Earth Federation. In addition, they had learned about their true enemy through the interrogation of the black-robed mages. For a time, the big shots in the Earth Federation, who faintly felt that Tsinghui might be entangled with an extraterrestrial civilization, felt extremely guilty. When Tsinghui rested for a day and planned to return to Guyu City, dozens of big shots who represented the pinnacle of power in the Earth Federation personally came to see him off. King Tsinghui, you will always be the most welcome and most distinguished guest of our Bei Mei region. We will specially open a manor for you in the Bei Mei region. You can come and stay at any time. It's all thanks to King Tsinghui that we can see the hope of solving the crisis. Oh, I shouldn't call you King Tsinghui now, but Venerable Tsinghui. We will always remember Venerable Tsinghui's contributions to the Earth Federation and the entire Earth's civilization. All of your deeds will be recorded in the annals of history for countless future generations to learn from and revere. Venerable Tsinghui, we will immediately hold a meeting when we return and invite Venerable Tsinghui to become the honorary chairman of the Supreme Council of the Earth Federation. Your contributions and deeds are more than enough to bear this responsibility. The chairman and deputy chairman from various major regions spoke with smiles on their faces in front of Tsinghui. If they did not know that Tsinghui would not leave the Huaxia region for other regions, they would even be willing to pay any price to get Tsinghui to settle down there. You don't have to thank me. You just need to promote the many secret techniques I have given you as soon as possible. At the same time, set up a global research institute and do your best to create mechs that we can use as soon as possible. Only then will Earth's civilization have a chance to survive the current crisis. Tsing Hui said. Don't worry, Venerable Tsing Hui. We will keep your words in mind. Not long ago, we began to gather people from all over the place to prepare to set up a research institute. We have chosen the location of this research institute in the Huaxia region, and it is less than 600 kilometers from Guyu City, where you live. Chairman Charade stepped forward and said. Tsing Hui estimated the Huaxia region was probably the Pearl River Delta. He nodded immediately. He said, I will wait and see your results. I won't disappoint you, Venerable Qing Su. Tsing Hui nodded. Hui turned Charade, but just as he was about to leave, he seemed to have sensed something and suddenly looked into the distance. As he planned to leave directly, he was actually on a helipad of the fortress. The terrain was relatively high. Looking down from here, not only could he see the heavily guarded command fort, but he could also see the many soldiers stationed outside the fortress. Just a moment ago, he suddenly felt a gaze with strong emotions focused on him. This gaze was different from the reverence and worship of ordinary soldiers. The message revealed in it was faintly familiar. However, when he looked in that direction, he only saw a group of soldiers and mercenaries fighting with each other. Venerable Tsing Hui, what's the matter? Is there a problem? Jiang Kunlun, who was beside him, immediately noticed his abnormality and quickly asked. Nothing. Tsing Hui replied and swept his mental energy in that direction. However, due to his limited control over his mental energy, he could only vaguely determine that there was no one he was familiar with among those people. In addition, with so many people from the Supreme Council accompanying him, he was about to leave. After not noticing any familiar faces, he withdrew his gaze and turned to Jiang Kunlun again. I'll leave first and see if I can find a way to repair the mysterious boundary of the Earth civilization. If the boundary can really be repaired, the safety of our Earth civilization will undoubtedly increase by a lot. We understand. What we're doing is just a small matter. Venerable Tsing Hui's job is to start from the root and solve the crisis for the Earth civilization. Everyone responded. Tsing Hui did not stay here for long. His figure suddenly soared into the air and then accelerated in the void. With a deafening boom, he broke through the sound barrier and whizzed toward the horizon at a speed many times faster than the speed of sound. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared from everyone's sight. Flying at supersonic speed with one's flesh and blood. What a great power this is! Even though Jiang Kunlun had witnessed Tsing Hui using this method more than once, the Huaxia region's commander-in-chief, who was a warrior, could not help but sigh. The people from the military headquarters of the other regions also nodded in agreement. All right, Venerable Tsing Hui has already pointed out the path for us. Next, it's up to us to see if we can realize what Venerable Tsing Hui has given us. Everyone, work hard. The crisis that our Earth civilization is currently facing can only be overcome by relying on ourselves. Marshal Zhu Kefu, who had come from the Mediterranean fortress, said. Everyone nodded and quickly returned to the stronghold to discuss the details of the plan. Did you see that? Captain Makarov, Bloodson, did you guys see that? That's King Tsing Hui. That's King Tsing Hui. Oh my god, I actually got to see his body flying at supersonic speed with my own eyes. In the area where Tsing Hui was looking at earlier, Diana, who was 32 years old, was as excited as a young girl at this moment. In fact, she was not the only one. Everyone in their team, including the soldiers beside them, was shouting in joy. Their expressions were full of excitement and joy. Rumors of King Tsing Hui had long spread throughout the entire Earth Federation through promotional videos. The Earth Federation was very familiar with this legendary expert who was so powerful that he could treat apocalyptic-level ferocious beasts as nothing. However, knowing about him was one thing, and witnessing his appearance with their own eyes was another. It was just like a singer who was popular throughout the Federation. Knowing his name and seeing him with their own eyes, or even hearing him perform to his heart's content, were two completely different concepts. Although Diana and the others did not chase after celebrities, they believed in the strong. Now that they saw King Tsing-Hui, who was as powerful as a god in their hearts, actually appear in front of them, they were naturally pleasantly surprised. I was wondering why there were fewer and fewer ferocious beasts in our fortress defense line. Today, there are only 2 or 3 ferocious beasts that have emerged from the defense line of the space passage. They are not even enough to fill the gaps between the teeth of the local garrison, let alone for us to deal with them personally. Now, it seems that it must be because King Tsing-Hui has made his move. He has killed all the ferocious beasts in the space passage. That's why we are so relaxed now. Didn't I tell you earlier that King Tsing-Hui is here? Those ferocious beasts will definitely be killed by King Tsing-Hui, but you guys didn't believe me. What do you mean by King Tsing-Hui? Didn't you see the latest news? The higher-ups of the Earth Federation have already conducted a new round of classification based on the strength displayed by Venerable Qing Su and the new ferocious beasts. After the Apocalypse level ferocious beasts are the leader level, then the king level, then the emperor level. Only after the emperor level is the venerable level where Venerable Qing Su is, so we should call him Venerable Qing Su. Makarov, the captain of the team, slapped the back of the head of Ivan, who was jumping the happiest in the team. Yes, Venerable Tsing-Hui, it's Venerable Tsing-Hui. Ivan nodded vigorously, and at the same time, glanced in the direction where Tsing-Hui was standing. Those people just now are all the top figures of the Earth Federation. Almost half of the people in the Earth Federation's Supreme Council are here to accompany Venerable Tsing-Hui and thank him for his contribution. TSK. Currently, Venerable Tsing-Hui claims to be number 2 in the world. Who dares to claim to be number 1? If I could have 1/10 of Venerable Tsing-Hui's power and status, I'd be willing to die right now. Makarov, Diana, and the others nodded in agreement. Forget 1/10. I'll be satisfied as long as I can enter the Tsar District's Supreme Council. When that time comes, what can I not get? Money, power, beautiful women, anything I want. It's easy to get a new model every day. Vulgar. Diana glanced disdainfully at Makarov, and then turned to her teammates. Bloodson, why do you look a little unhappy to be able to see the true face of such a great being like Venerable Tsing-Hui? Unhappy? Not at all. Bloodson. Jiang Ningji, the young master of the Dongyang sword sect, forced a smile and replied. At the same time, he hid his ferocious and terrifying appearance even more deeply. Is that so? Diana didn't think too much about it. At this moment, she saw the news about Venerable Tsing-Hui's search for Jiang Ningji's whereabouts on the fortress screen. She immediately became envious. I really don't know who this woman is, to be able to make Venerable Tsing-Hui search for her so diligently. If I were her, I'd probably die of happiness. TSK. Big Sister Diana, you don't have to think about it. As the saying goes, heroes are matched with beautiful women. With Venerable Tsing-Hui's status and character, the woman he's looking for must be devastatingly beautiful. How could Venerable Tsing-Hui like someone like you who's getting old? Ivan, who was standing aside, burst into laughter. Kid, are you courting death? I'm our team's belle after all. Who knows, maybe Venerable Tsing-Hui likes me. There's still hope. Diana pretended to hit him, scaring Ivan into laughing and running away. All right. Team Belle. You're our team's belle. Someone like Venerable Qing Su must have a lot of beauties around him. No matter how impressive his cultivation is, he's still a man after all, and a hot-blooded man at that. How can he compare to thousands of beauties who admire him throwing themselves at him? Diana, you don't have to think about it. Why don't you think about us, ha. Makarov laughed. However, while they were joking around, they didn't notice that Jiang Ningji, who was already feeling inferior due to her disfigurement, lowered her head even more when she heard their words. She wished she could hide in the shadows of her beautiful hair and never see the light of day. Chapter 739. Time passed. 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, unknowingly, it had been nearly a year since Tsing Hui returned to Earth. In this 1 year, he had relied on the soul-refining pills to cultivate 8 top powerhouses. 4 of these 8 top powerhouses had broken through to Class 7 when they took the soul-refining pills. The remaining 4 had also broken through to Class 7 after a year of continuous refinement and training. Although they could not kill Class 3 and Class 4 ferocious beasts like they could when they were Class 2 and Class 3 ferocious beasts, they already had the ability to fight against Class 8 ferocious beasts. In addition, the greatest advantage of humans was wisdom and teamwork. If one person could not kill a rank 8 dire beast, several people would join forces to form a team to kill those rank 8 dire beasts. In this case, in this year, more than 20 rank 8 dire beasts died in their hands, almost half of all the rank 8 dire beasts on Earth. As for the remaining half, they were basically gregarious dire beasts and were not easy to kill. Even if they wanted to eliminate them, they could only do it slowly. In addition, with the promotion of the 9 forging divine arts and the establishment of the Psionic Association, many psionic ability users were born in the Earth civilization. However, most of the psionic ability users were limited to rank 3. Rank 4 was quite rare, and the highest were the rank 7 warriors who took the soul-refining pills. While these people took the soul-refining pills to strengthen their physique, their spirit also seemed to be tempered under the effect of refining qi into spirit, and they broke through to rank 6. Unfortunately, this level was still far from the requirement to pilot a divine-grade mech. Tsing Hui even suspected that even after 16 years, the Earth civilization might not be able to produce a single psionic ability user whose spirit had reached the threshold of rank 9. The development of the Earth civilization was generally still thriving, but for Tsing Hui, the more time passed, the more intense the torment in his heart became. There was no other reason other than there had been no news of Jiang Ningji. At this moment, he had even begun to despair. If it were not for the belief in his heart that Jiang Ningji would not die so easily, he would have even given up on continuing the search. Under the pressure of not being able to find her, he did not even have the mood to study the 4th sword after the Sword of Eclipse, the Sword of Black Sun, even if the scientists of the Research Institute had provided a complete research model. Finally, no matter how unwilling Tsing Hui was to face it, he had to admit it. Jiang Ningji, perhaps he had really died in the catastrophe at the beginning of the outbreak of the Berserk Beast. Tsing Hui? In the city lord's mansion of Guyu City, Qing Yuming had just finished his business and was coming out. When he saw Tsing Hui waiting at the door, he immediately called out and smiled. "Since you're here, why didn't you inform me? I could have come down earlier." "Father, you're now the city lord of Ancient Jade City and the deputy commander of Ancient Jade City Base. You're a major figure with the rank of lieutenant general. You're busy every day, so it's not good for me to disturb you," Tsing Hui said with a smile. "Let's go. If there's anything, we can talk about it as we go back. Your Aunt Haidang has been talking about inviting you over for a meal and thanking you properly. However, I've been rejecting you with the excuse that you're busy. Since you're here today, don't leave." Qing Yuming pulled Qing Su and was about to walk towards his residence. Tsing Hui didn't refuse and just said, "Father, since you've already given them the petals of the unfalling flower, I won't say anything else. I just hope that she can live a good life with you." Speaking of this matter, Tsing Hui was quite helpless. He gave Qing Yuming a unfalling flower. Because he was worried that Qing Yuming wouldn't be able to bear the medicinal power of the unfalling flower, he divided it into 5 petals and let him consume them one by one. He didn't expect that after learning about the effects of the unfalling flower, he actually secretly hid 3 petals and gave them to Haitang, Qin Yusin, and Hai Wire. If he hadn't noticed the change in Hai Wire's aura, he probably wouldn't have noticed this. He naturally felt quite unhappy about this matter, but it had already happened. In addition to Qin Yuming's persuasion and Haitang's performance in the past year, Xing Hui couldn't get angry in the end, and could only acquiesce to this matter. Father, I have something to tell you this time. Oh. Qin Yiming looked at Xing Hui. Do you want to go somewhere else? No need, let's talk while we walk. Xing Hui organized his words a little before slowly opening his mouth. In fact, I'm afraid it's not just you, Father. Everyone in the Earth Federation is very curious about how I have the combat power not inferior to a rank 10 advanced life form and also brought with me so many mystical exotic flowers and fruits, right? If you don't want to talk about this matter, we won't force you. I believe that no one in the Earth Federation will force you. Qin Yiming said consciously. That's true, but you've already seen the current situation of the Earth Federation. Although I've given them mech technology and spiritual ability user cultivation methods, as the barrier protecting our world gradually disappears, there will be a day when Captain Sauron, who is eyeing our civilization covetously, will kill our civilization on Earth. And this won't take a long time, at most 100 years. Do you think that our civilization on Earth will be able to resist the invasion of such a terrifying powerhouse after 100 years? Qin Yiming had now been promoted to the high-level council of the Huaxia region as an exception. Because of his relationship with Xing Hui, he even had a seat in the Supreme Council. It was just that he was only a substitute with the qualification to listen in. Although he was a substitute, he knew the current danger that Earth civilization was facing like the back of his hand. At the same time, he also understood how terrifying Captain Sauron was. Even if Earth civilization developed for another 100 years and built hundreds and thousands of holy mechs, they would still be destroyed in front of a terrifying rank 15 creature like Sauron. What do you want to do? We have to find a way out for Earth civilization. Qin Yiming suddenly understood. You want to leave? Xing Hui nodded. If I leave, the barrier of Earth will inevitably weaken again. The next expansion of space should be someday in 16 years. I'll try my best to come in 16 years. 16 years. Qin Yiming's face was a little gloomy. His father had been separated for 13 years, and now they had only been reunited for a year. Now that they had to be separated for another 16 years, he naturally felt a little uncomfortable in his heart. However, he understood that Xing Hui's departure to find a way out for Earth civilization was imperative. No one had the right to stop him, not even his father. Therefore, in order not to pressure Xing Hui, he could only pretend to be relaxed and smile. It's only 16 years. Don't forget, I've consumed an entire unfalling flower. If the unfalling flower is really as magical as you say, I should be able to live for 1,000 years. 16 years is nothing. Go ahead, and even if you leave a little longer, it doesn't matter. I believe that in 16 years, our Earth Federation will definitely be able to create a powerful holy mech and cultivate rank 7, rank 8, and even rank 9 psychic ability users. When that time comes, even if the space passage expands again, we can still easily deal with it. Therefore, you don't have to force yourself too much. If you can't think of a way in 16 years, think about it more. Earth won't be in any danger. Hearing this, Xing Hui only nodded seriously. When the time comes, I'll gather the upper echelons of the parliament to explain this matter. However, apart from this, there's another matter that I need you to personally watch over. Qin Yiming tidied his clothes and said solemnly. This matter is related to senior sister Jiang Ningji. Jiang Ningji. Hearing Xing Hui mention this matter, Qin Yiming's face darkened slightly. I didn't expect her to be so important in your heart. If I had known, I would have thought of a way to help you protect Jiang Ningji even at the risk of offending the Yi and Huang families. But now, you've used all the power of the Earth Federation and have searched for her for an entire year without finding her. I'm afraid she's really... No. Xing Hui reached out and pointed at his forehead. I believe in my intuition. She's not dead yet. Qin Yiming looked at Xing Hui and wanted to persuade him again. However, under the influence of guilt, He didn't know where to start. In the end, he could only sigh, "What do you want me to do? I need Father to continue supervising the order to search for senior sister Jiang Ningji." At the same time, Tsing Hui took out a soul-refining pill and a non-falling flower. "If you find her, give this to her." Qing Yiming took the two items and carefully put them away. "Don't worry. If I find her, I'll give these to her." "Okay." Qing Su nodded. "In the end," he added, "Father, don't let anyone know about these two items. You should understand their value in the Earth Federation." Qing Yiming couldn't help but be speechless when he heard this. "You brat, I know this kind of thing better than you. I don't need you to remind me." After saying that, he suddenly fell silent. Tsing Hui didn't say anything else. Instead, he pressed the elevator button and the two of them entered the elevator. "Little Sue, when you go to that place, take care of yourself." After a while, when the elevator was about to reach the floor where Qing Yiming lived, Qing Yiming said in a slightly hoarse voice, "Father, don't worry. I used a few years in the Earth's martial arts world to make a name for myself as the Sword Saint. In that world, I'm also known as the Sword Venerable, the Supreme of the Sword Tao. In that world, there are only a few people who can threaten me." That's good, Qing Yiming said with a slight sigh of relief. Ding! At this time, the elevator door also opened. Across the corridor, Haitang, who knew that Tsing Hui was coming, pulled her daughter, Qin Yusin, opened the iron door outside and the solid wood door inside, and stood at the door to welcome him. When he saw Qing Su and Qing Yiming arrive, he went up to them with a smile and took the briefcase for Qing Yiming. At the same time, he said to Qing Su apologetically and gratefully from the bottom of his heart, "Qing Su, welcome home." Chapter 740. Venerable Tsing Hui, is there really no other way? Venerable Tsing Hui, can you tell us what that world looks like? Also, can we go to that world like you, Venerable Tsing Hui? Shouldn't we hold a meeting to discuss this matter? In the Research Institute, dozens of important figures from various regions, or the most trusted representatives of those important figures, rushed in at the same time and surrounded Tsing Hui in the conference room. And these actions were only because of a notice from Tsing Hui last night. Alright, everyone, although our Earth Federation has made good progress in this year compared to the previous year, anyone can see that this progress will soon hit a bottleneck. Once it hits a bottleneck, the development of our Earth civilization will stagnate. But even though our development has stagnated, the attacks of the extraterrestrial invaders will not stop. At the latest, in 100 years, the powerful captain of the extraterrestrial civilization, Sauron, a legendary wizard with the power to destroy stars, will truly descend on our Earth civilization. At that time, what will our Earth civilization use to resist? Therefore, it is imperative to find a new way out for Earth civilization. Tsing Hui looked at the dozens of representatives in the conference room and said indifferently. These important figures obviously understood that Tsing Hui's words were true, but they were already used to Tsing Hui, the stabilizing force, overseeing the overall situation here. If Tsing Hui suddenly left, without an advanced 10th order life form like him, they would feel uncertain. Venerable Tsing Hui, when do you plan to return? After a while, Jiang Xingdao, who belonged to the Huaxia region, asked. After Jiang Xingdao consumed a soul-refining pill, he became one of the few 7th-order powerhouses among the humans, and his status also rose. Currently, he had become a high-ranking member of the Supreme Council. If one of the chairmen stepped down, he would be a strong candidate to compete for the next chairman. I have to pay attention to the spatial fluctuations. When I have the chance, I will return, but it should be within the next 10 days. Tsing Hui replied, and after a while, he added, "This time, you should understand that I have to leave. Otherwise, our Earth civilization will not be able to escape misfortune. But regardless of the results of this trip, I will strive to rush back within 16 years, which is before the third expansion of the spatial passage. When I return, I will try to bring back as many pills like soul-refining pills as possible. As soon as he finished speaking, the eyes of the dozens of people present all lit up. Venerable Tsing-Hui, I'm afraid you have to give us some weight this time, right? In order to complete the black hole model for you, Venerable Qing-Su, our Bei Mei region has sent all the top scientists to ancient Jade City. Please, Venerable Qing-Su, for the sake of our efforts, grant us some more pills, Jianchen said. Venerable Tsing-Hui, we, the representatives of the various regions who understood the tyrannical power of the soul-refining pills, spoke one after another, as if they were afraid that they would miss out on a powerful pill like the soul-refining pill, which could create at least a sixth-order life form, if they were too slow. All right, everyone, please don't be impatient. It won't be too late to talk about this matter after I return from that world. Tsing-Hui waved his hand. Venerable Tsing-Hui, if you go to that world alone, won't you be a little weak? Why don't you bring some warriors from Earth with you? They can help you when the time comes. At this time, the representative of the Inha region cautiously suggested. His suggestion also made the people present look forward to it. Unfortunately, Tsing-Hui did not hesitate to expose these people's thoughts. The power of spatial teleportation is not something that ordinary people can bear. Besides, opening spatial teleportation requires spatial crystals. The more people teleport, the more spatial crystals will be consumed. A spatial crystal is a treasure that can be exchanged for hundreds of soul-refining pills. Do you think this is an easy task? Hundreds. Everyone was shocked when they heard this and did not dare to say anything more. All right, this matter will be settled for the time being. Everyone, please go back, Tsing-Hui said. However, after these people looked at each other, they said at the same time, Venerable Tsing-Hui is shouldering the hope of saving the entire Earth Federation. Please allow us to send Venerable Tsing-Hui away. Tsing-Hui naturally understood the real purpose of these people following him. He immediately sneered. Is that so? Spatial teleportation can cause spatial distortion. If you're not careful, you may turn a radius of more than 10 kilometers into nothingness. If you think you can withstand the power of spatial distortion, then go ahead and follow me. For a moment, no one spoke. All right, I'm going to make preparations to head to Mount Dongyang and seize the opportunity to perform spatial teleportation. Everyone, please do as you wish. After Tsing-Hui finished speaking, he headed to another room in the research institute. In that room, the Greater One Spiritual Master and Yu Su Spiritual Master were both present. Tsing-Hui directly handed a jade slip to them. There is an important piece of information on it. I have placed a little restriction on it. You can only read it after 16 years. If I can't come back after 16 years, and the Earth Federation cannot withstand the attack of the fierce beasts, you can read the information inside. Here, it records the only way out of our Earth civilization. This. Lord, do you want to give this thing to Marshal Jiang for safekeeping? The Greater One Spiritual Master and Yu Su Spiritual Master, seeing that Tsing-Hui had handed such a huge responsibility to them, received the jade slip with trembling hands. No, I'm afraid only you can understand the information inside, Tsing-Hui said, and then encouraged them. If you can do this matter well, when I come back, I can give each of you a soul-refining pill as a reward. When the two heard this, they immediately clenched the jade slip given by Tsing-Hui, and hurriedly vowed, Venerable Tsing-Hui, don't worry, we will never let this jade slip leave us for 16 years. Yes, even if we die, we will never let these jade slips be damaged in the slightest. Well, I hope you can do it, Tsing-Hui said. In fact, he had not only given this jade slip to the Greater One Spiritual Master and Yu Su Spiritual Master, but also left a copy with Qin Yuming, but he had not told Qin Yuming. Then, that's it. After Tsing-Hui finished speaking, he waved his hand, and under the bowing of the Greater One Spiritual Master and Yu Su Spiritual Master, he left the courtyard. Then, without saying anything to the guards in the courtyard, he leaped into the void, and with a full-speed burst, disappeared into the horizon with a deafening sonic boom. After leaving the ancient Jade City Research Institute, Tsing Hui did not stop for a moment, and directly appeared at the location of Mount Dongyang. As for what kind of reaction his series of actions would cause to the Earth Federation, he did not pay much attention to it. What he needed to do now was to quietly wait for esteemed Master Zhu Zhao to reactivate the space transmission formation. Fortunately, esteemed Master Zhu Zhao did not make him wait too long. On the third day that Tsing Hui came to Mount Dongyang, a circle of space fluctuations had already spread out. As the space fluctuations spread out, it was unknown how many people, including Tsing Hui, were concentrating their attention at the same time. It was most likely that the top research institute of the Earth Federation had spent 120% of their strength trying to figure out something based on these space fluctuations. In this regard, Tsing Hui may or may not know, but he was too lazy to pay attention to it. As the space fluctuations spread out, Tsing Hui patiently waited for the formation of the space channel. However, after more than 10 breaths, there was still no trace of the space channel. Instead, the space fluctuations, after reaching a higher peak, gradually began to decline. What's going on? The transmission formation. Is there a problem? Tsing Hui's heart skipped a beat. At this critical moment, his brain worked extremely fast, and he quickly focused his attention on the creation divine jade in the spiritual world. The last time he left Earth, it seemed that the power of the creation divine jade had erupted and sent him over. Then this time, without hesitation, Tsing Hui's figure flew and quickly came to the center of the space fluctuations. Then, his powerful mind blasted into the spiritual world, and he did his best to activate the creation divine jade. Accompanied by a stream of light, the space fluctuations seemed to have finally captured his location and exploded in an instant, swallowing him whole and disappearing without a trace. He's gone. Did he really teleport away? Damn it, what kind of method is this? Where's the data? Have you collected any data? As Tsing Hui teleported away, countless voices came from the top research institute. The research institutes of the entire world became extremely busy at this moment. Has there been any change in the space stability of our Earth civilization? When will the next space expansion be? Can you calculate it? It's been calculated. 16 years, it's indeed 16 years. 16 years, he didn't lie to us about this. I hope he can come back in 16 years and help our Earth civilization get through the third space expansion crisis. He will. His father and family are all on Earth. According to the behavioral model and psychological model analysis we have established, Venerable Tsing Hui is extremely loyal. This can be seen from how he tried to find Jiang Ningji and is unwilling to give up until now. As long as Qin Yuming is still on Earth, he will never give up on us. Very good. From today onwards, the security of Qin Yuming's family will be raised to the highest level. Tsing Hui's heart was filled with regret that he could not find Jiang Ningji until he left Earth, but the crisis that Earth civilization was currently facing left him with no choice but to return to the divine wilderness as soon as possible. Otherwise, even if he had to spend decades, travel to the ends of the earth, and use his mind to scan the villages one by one, he would find Jiang Ningji. Due to the experience of space teleportation, although the feeling of his body being stretched and flattened filled his body, he could still barely maintain his calm and move forward according to the power of space teleportation. After an unknown period of time, the space in front of him changed. The next moment, a bright and spacious cave appeared in front of him. When Tsing Hui looked around, he was already on the teleportation array in the ancestral land of the Purple Cloud Palace on the Fortune mainland. Sword Venerable Tsing Hui, welcome back. When Tsing Hui was still adapting to the changes in his surroundings, Venerable Zhu Zhao's voice sounded. Following Tsing Hui's gaze, he not only saw Venerable Zhu Zhao, but also Venerable Tsang Zhen. although Venerable Tsongzhen was only in his incarnation. Ha ha ha, I haven't seen you for a year. Tsinghui, you seem to be in a different world. Venerable Tsongzhen looked at Tsinghui and laughed. His temperament was as good as ever. Tsinghui smiled and was about to say something, but in the next moment, he was slightly stunned. What appeared in front of him was indeed the ancestral land of the Fortune Mainland's Purple Cloud Palace. The scene he saw was also mainly based on the ancestral land of the Purple Cloud Palace. However, in addition to the ancestral land of the Purple Cloud Palace, in his vision, there was another kind of magical phenomenon. Tsinghui had seen this kind of magical phenomenon when he transformed into the divine beast Kuan Pering, law of space. Only when he transformed into the divine beast Kuan Pering could he see the law of space clearly. Moreover, in addition to the law of space, there were many other laws that were not visible but were full of magical phenomena. It was as if an invisible force suddenly opened his vision and directly lifted the layer of gauze that covered the mysteries of the world in front of him, revealing the various structures of the world one by one. The fifth watch has arrived, the new plug-in has been received, please check. Chapter 741. This is. Tsinghui looked at the clear world in front of him, and his pupils shrank fiercely. Fortune Jade. This was the effect of the Fortune Jade's transformation of the mind. This effect had already shown signs in the world of Earth, but 99% of the vitality and laws in the world of Earth had been sealed by the enchantment supported by the towering divine tree. He could only vaguely sense the remaining 10%, so the change back then was not obvious. But at this moment, when he truly came to the divine wilderness world where the laws manifested, he was shocked to discover that the laws of all things in the world no longer held any secrets in front of him. At this time, if he had enough void crystals and a strong enough spiritual energy to draw in enough law power, he could even construct his own world in a short period of time and advance to the level of a true immortal or true god, an unparalleled almighty realm. Tsinghui, what happened? Did something go wrong during the teleportation process? Is there something wrong? Esteemed Zhu Zhao and esteemed Master Tsongzhen immediately became rather worried when they saw Qing Su fall silent after being teleported over. They asked in a hurry. Their question brought Tsinghui back to his senses. I'm fine. Tsinghui looked at the many laws that had manifested clearly around him again and sighed. World creation with a thought. World creation with a thought was a pinnacle existence that could truly stand in the universe. World creation with a thought could even be considered a pinnacle existence in the worlds behind the heavenly way and eternity. At best, there would still be a few universe giants in the chaotic realm in their worlds, but there would not be too many of them. Otherwise, they would not have been badly damaged by the divine wilderness in the war with the divine wilderness 10,000 years ago. What a pity! Tsinghui glanced at his spirit attribute through the Sun of Chaos panel. 149 step. These Fortune Jade had perfected the transformation effect on the mind. However, the transformation of the Fortune Jade clearly did not target the strength of his mind, but strengthened his understanding of the laws. As a result, his understanding of the laws had soared to the level of world creation with a thought, but the strength of his mind was still one step away from the level of crushing vacuum. It's good that you're fine. Has your matter been resolved? Esteemed Zhu Zhao asked with a smile. It can't be considered resolved. It's just a matter of time. All right, just let me know when you need me. Shall we head back now? Go back. Tsinghui nodded and asked at the same time, in this past year, did anything happen in the divine wilderness world? Haha, you want to ask if those people from the heavenly Tao have come out to jump around, right? You don't have to worry about that. The heavenly Tao is very well behaved. All the higher-ups are hiding in their headquarters' defensive array. Even if they come out, they are very careful. They are afraid of being discovered by us. However, since you and Venerable Zhu Zhao have been on the Fortune mainland, We didn't take the initiative to provoke the heavenly Tao. We let them have a peaceful year. But now that your matter has been resolved, it's time for us to teach the heavenly Tao a lesson. Master Tsongzhen replied with a laugh. Xing Hui nodded when he heard what Master Tsongzhen said. Not only the heavenly Tao but also the eternal and the divine wilderness. In another 16 years, the earth would once again face the invasion of the troops sent by true God Aixin's army. Although the earth's current strength had increased, they should be able to resist the third wave of invasion. However, it was better to be safe than sorry. He had to find a way to solve the problem within 16 years and return to the earth. In this way, it was a race against time. In addition, he had to figure out the relationship between the Time King, the Master of Gods, and the Master of Chaos, as well as the location of the star field that belonged to the three great existences. To obtain this information, the inheritance from the ancient divine wilderness, the heavenly Tao from other worlds, and the eternal were obviously the best breakthrough. The heavenly Tao is protected by a 15th-order defensive array. If we want to deal with the heavenly Tao, we can only cut off their wings at best. If we want to completely destroy the heavenly Tao, I'm afraid we won't be able to do it. Unless someone can cultivate the divine true body, and rely on the power of the divine true body to tear apart the 15th-order defensive array of the heavenly Tao and kill their way into the heavenly Tao. Xing Hui said. Divine true body, esteemed being Zhu Zhao pondered for a moment. I can give it a try. Currently, I have the originator on me, and you have obtained a world core from that cave. My spatial laws should soon be comprehended to perfection. Next, I will try to condense the divine true body. I estimate that there should be hope within 100 years. 100 years? Xing Hui knew that this speed was already extremely fast, but he only had 16 years. I'll think of another way. Xing Hui pondered. Haha, although it will take 100 years for us to destroy the heavenly Tao, during this time, we can force the heavenly Tao to hide in the defensive array and not dare to act rashly. What's the difference between destroying the heavenly Tao and destroying it? Esteemed being Tsongzhen laughed. Don't be careless. Xing Hui looked solemn. It is said that the heavenly Tao has received news from the world behind them. The force behind them is rapidly approaching the heavenly Tao. It is said that it will enter our divine wilderness in a few decades or 100 years. Once the world behind the heavenly Tao arrives, I'm afraid the entire divine wilderness will face a disaster. The world behind the heavenly Tao? The possibility of that is not very high. Esteemed being Zhu Zhao pondered for a moment, then said, Xing Hui, although you have the battle strength of a supreme expert, you are still inferior to us old experts in the ancient legends. According to what I know, when our divine wilderness fought against the world behind the heavenly Tao and eternity, although the entire divine wilderness was destroyed, it was because the battlefield was in our divine wilderness. There was nothing we could do about it, but if we were to talk about the outcome of the war, our divine wilderness was the true victor. The experts behind the two worlds that invaded were almost completely wiped out. At that time, their two worlds were so badly damaged that they probably couldn't even find a supreme expert who could create a world with a thought. Unlike our divine wilderness, the world behind the heavenly Tao and eternity had offended many worlds because of their constant wars. Their vitality was greatly damaged, and there were definitely many worlds that hit them when they were down. Whether they could protect their own world is a problem. Esteemed being Zhu Zhao is right, but don't forget that it has been tens of thousands of years since the last war. In these tens of thousands of years, the world behind the heavenly Tao and eternity has recuperated. Even if it has not recovered to its peak, it is not something that the divine wilderness, which has completely fallen, can deal with. Therefore, we still have to hurry. As Xing Hui spoke, he pondered for a moment, then said, Look, if we join forces with eternity and the divine wilderness, do you think there is any hope of breaking through the heavenly Tao's protective mountain array? It's difficult. Esteemed being Zhu Zhao shook his head. However, considering the foundation of these two forces, he added, but we can try, but you still have to be careful. Don't be used by these two forces and become their hired thugs for no reason. I know this very well. Tsing Hui smiled. Let's go back to Tianhuang mainland first. It just so happens that my teleportation technique has finished cooling down. Esteemed being Zhu Zhao, I'll have to trouble you to make a trip to my world. What's there to be troubled about? It saves me the trouble of traveling. I can't ask for anything more. Esteemed being Zhu Zhao said with a smile. Immediately, Tsing Hui took esteemed being Zhu Zhao directly to Tianxiong's residence in Tianhuang mainland through teleportation. As for Zhang Zhen, he was only in his incarnation and had specially come to deliver the space crystal to esteemed being Zhu Zhao. Although the Fortune mainland was too far away and inevitably faced a period of weakness, Tianxiong now had Tsing Hui and esteemed being Zhu Zhao, two supreme experts, and could be said to be at the peak of the sky. No one dared to easily offend them. Even if Zhang Zhen could not fight for a long time, there was no need to worry about any danger. Tsing Hui used teleportation technique to teleport to Tianxiong, and the people of Tianxiong who had received the news in advance immediately came out to welcome him. In addition to Tianxiong and esteemed being Yuanri, there was also Sword Master Xingyi from Sword Shadow and True God suffering from Black Flame Cult. Ha ha ha, Sword Venerable Tsing Hui is here. Sword Venerable Tsing Hui, how is your matter? Is it going well? Since Sword Venerable Tsing Hui is here, esteemed being Zhu Zhao should also be here. It's a pity that the people of Tianxiong have completely become cowards during this period of time. Otherwise, we would definitely teach them a good lesson. Several big shots said with a smile on their faces. Obviously, they had been very relaxed in the year that Tsing Hui had left. Thank you for your concern. The matter over there has come to an end for the time being. Tsing Hui replied. After a while, he looked in the direction of the crowd and asked, why don't I see Sword Venerable being Hidden Sword? Sword Venerable being Hidden Sword has returned to the Hidden Sword sect, saying that he wants to find out some secret to pave the way for you. In addition, Sword Master Bai Heng of the White Rainbow Sword sect is said to have gained a lot from the battle with Chaos Holy Man, so he went into seclusion half a year ago. I think, when Sword Master Bai Heng comes out, there will be a change in the ranking of the top 10 supreme experts. Esteemed being Heavenly Master explained. Esteemed being Zhu Zhao, who had walked out of Tsing Hui's personal space, nodded slightly after hearing esteemed being Heavenly Master's words. In fact, if I'm not wrong, Sword Master Bai Heng's battle power when he was trapped in the chaotic primordial realm was not inferior to that of the top 10 supreme experts. He was only at the level of the Jade Emperor Holy Man and the Holy Master of the Bottomless Abyss. If he can gain something in the next half a year, it won't be difficult for him to sit firmly on the throne of the top 10 supreme experts. Sword Master Xingyi also nodded in agreement. Actually, before the Green Ruins Swordmaster appeared, Swordmaster Bai Heng was the cultivator with the greatest talent I've ever seen. You can tell this from how the heavens purposefully suppressed the Fogbow Sword sect because of her. If it weren't for the limited resources of the Fogbow Sword sect, she probably wouldn't be any weaker than you, Reverend Zhu Zhao. I believe that. As esteemed Zhu Zhao said that, he glanced at Qing Su in a rather melancholy manner. It really is the new generation surpassing the old. The new generation has surpassed the old. From the looks of it, the divine wilderness will be under you young people very soon. They laughed and chatted and soon entered the courtyard. Tsing Hui also took this opportunity to mention the idea of going to the divine wilderness and eternity. Considering the terrifying battle power that Tsing Hui possessed after transforming into the Kuan Pung, esteemed being Heavenly Master added some precautions and agreed. Chapter 742. Whoosh. Tsing Hui traveled on his sword on the way to eternity, maintaining an extremely fast speed as he shuttled through the upper levels of the void. Although eternity was an organization of chaos, it had established its own headquarters in the infinite wasteland domain, just like the heavenly Tao. At their level, they no longer had to worry about being hunted down by others because of their identity as sons of chaos. On the contrary, others should revere these sons of chaos who possessed miraculous abilities. Under such circumstances, even if everyone knew that there were many top-notch sons of chaos in eternity, who could do anything to them, my chaos level hasn't decreased at all? On the way to eternity, Xing Hui examined his own condition and looked rather surprised. His primal chaos level was still the same as before he left the divine wilderness world, remaining at level 70. Clearly, although leaving the range of the primal chaos ruler's power would render the various characteristics of a son of chaos useless, the son of chaos's promotion and demotion system would not be affected. After glancing at the characteristics of the sons of chaos, Xing Hui focused his attention on the fortune jade. After obtaining a large piece of the complete fortune jade, the number of Taoist rhymes derived from it had increased by leaps and bounds, reaching an astonishing 14 points. Compared to the previous value of 2 Taoist rhymes per day, it had increased by a full 7 times. When he calculated this value, Xing Hui himself was rather surprised. However, looking at the fortune jade that was only a little bit away from being completely repaired, he vaguely understood the wonders of this phenomenon. He even had a premonition that once he truly repaired the fortune jade, the changes it would ultimately produce would definitely far exceed his imagination. At that time, this supreme chaos treasure that represented the immortal civilization would definitely evolve into an unprecedented miraculous existence. Many of the characteristics of the sons of chaos are ultimately bestowed by external forces. Once they leave the range of the chaos sovereign's power, they won't be able to sense the chaos temple and naturally won't be able to borrow the chaos sovereign's power. Their various characteristics will be rendered useless. The trip to Earth is the best example. Therefore, from now on, I can't rely too much on the characteristics of the sons of chaos. My own strength is the foundation of everything. At the thought of strength, Xing Hui could not help but look at himself. Anything that was related to external forces was ultimately illusory. Only the power that was born within one's own body was the foundation to roam the myriad worlds. In that case, he could only start from the physical and mental aspects. However, essence, qi, and spirit had always been one. If there was only essence and spirit without qi, how could one achieve the glory of the sun and the moon, and the longevity of the heaven and earth? However, qi was something from the outside world and originated from the true yuan of heaven and earth. Once one fell into a special environment similar to the one on Earth, there would be no true yuan. No matter how high one's qi cultivation was, what was the point? Qi originates from heaven and earth, and heaven and earth's qi originates from the primal chaos. It's like how living beings on a planet rely on the sun for photosynthesis to grow, and the sun's mass originates from the microscopic substances that are everywhere in the starry sky. If a person doesn't want to rely on heaven and earth and be able to circulate his qi freely in any environment, the only way to do so is to create a universe within his body, a starry sky. That way, the qi in his body can be self-sufficient and grow without end. When Xing Hui thought of this, he was speechless at first. He felt that this method was very feasible. However, after a moment, he laughed and shook his head. Creating a primal chaos universe within his body and an endless starry sky. It should be known that even existences at the level of the one thought to create a world could only replenish themselves by absorbing the free energy in the primal chaos universe to maintain the stability of the world they created. Creating a primal chaos universe that was self-sufficient and had complete laws was just a pipe dream for great existences at the level of one thought to create a world. They did not even dare to think about it. It's still too early to study these problems at the moment. It's better to cultivate to a higher level as soon as possible and solve the crisis that Earth's civilization is facing. Xing Hui sighed. He collected his thoughts and glanced around. The space law that was constantly flowing in the void in front of him had become clear and visible. The next moment, he took a step forward. The moment he stepped out, his body seemed to have completely disappeared and directly escaped into the void. When he reappeared, he was already hundreds of kilometers away. If any Saint Stage powerhouse saw this kind of magical power that was close to teleportation, they would definitely be unable to help but cry out the two words, insightful void. Moreover, to be able to perform such a technique that was close to teleportation, it was obviously in existence at the peak of the insightful void realm. Comprehending the space law is truly magical. Xing Hui's eyes swept around, constantly comprehending the flow of the space law. From time to time, he would seize the opportunity to integrate himself into the flow of the space law and perform a technique similar to traveling through space. His speed was much faster than when he used the light-chasing divine ability. Under such circumstances, even though the Sky Dome base was millions of kilometers away from the Eternal Base, and there were many dangerous places along the way, it still took him less than a day to arrive outside the Eternal Base. The Eternal Base. Xing Hui appeared outside the Eternal Base. As one of the wealthiest organizations in the chaos, the Eternal Base's protective formation was usually maintained in a half-activated state. In this state, as long as a Saint Stage powerhouse was in charge of the formation, ordinary saints would not be able to gain anything by breaking into it. Once the formation's power was fully activated, even those saints who broke into the formation would have to suffer grievances. However, as Xing Hui's spiritual world was reshaped by the Fortune Jade, the various mysteries of the protective formation in front of him were no longer a secret to him. Even if the Eternal Base's formation was in fact entrusted to a supreme treasure, and its energy was endless, he only needed to follow the space law and infiltrate the formation, then use his divine art and slash out with the sword of solar eclipse to destroy the formation. Of course, the premise was that the many saints of the Eternal Base did not interfere. That's Xing Hui, Sword Sovereign Xing Hui. As Xing Hui sized up the Eternal Base's protective formation, some Eternal experts noticed his presence, and a small commotion broke out in the crowd. Sword Sovereign Xing Hui? What is he doing here? We've never offended him in the Eternal Base. That's not necessarily true. It's said that a year ago we fought with them for the dust-cleansing stone in the Kongli continent, and the Brilliant Sun Emperor and Black Light Emperor had a great battle with him. The Brilliant Sun Emperor was lucky and has now returned to the Eternal Base, while Black Light Emperor is still roaming in the space mezzanine, and his return is uncertain. Quickly increase the power of the protective formation and send a message to all the emperors. The current Xing Hui was probably second only to the Tai Yi Emperor, the Chaos Holy Man, and the Ancient Desolation Supreme God in the entire Divine Wilderness. Such a person had personally come to the Eternal Base, and had even had a small conflict with the Eternal Base. Naturally, the Eternal Base was in a state of panic. Soon, the Eternal Base's protective formation rose. However, perhaps because Xing Hui had not offended the Eternal Base, the protective formation did not envelop Xing Hui. At the same time, 4 figures rushed out of the Eternal Base at the same time. One of them was an old acquaintance, the Brilliant Sun Emperor who had fought with Xing Hui on the Kongli continent. Xing Hui, what are you doing in the Eternal Base? When the Brilliant Sun Emperor saw Qing Su, his eyes blazed with hatred as if he had met an enemy. If it weren't for the fact that he was wary of Qing Su's strength and the alliance formed by the 4 sects of Heaven's Vault continent, he probably wouldn't have been able to stop himself from attacking. Emperor Qi Xia, Emperor Yen Zhu, and Emperor Xian Qi, is this how the Eternal Base treats its guests? Xing Hui ignored the Brilliant Sun Emperor and looked at the other 3 Saint Stage giants. Among the 3 emperors, Emperor Qi Xia was similar to the brilliant Sun Emperor and belonged to the second category of Saint Stage giants. As a woman, it was rare for her to cultivate to the Saint Stage, and she seemed to be the leader of the group. Greetings, soared venerable green ruins and crimson glow. However, our eternal world really doesn't have much of a relationship with your heaven's dome world. May I ask why you've come to visit, soared venerable green ruins? Emperor Crimson Cloud said calmly. There was not much fear in his eyes. Unlike Tao Master Hundun, who was only proficient in life-saving and trapping formations, Emperor Tai E of the Eternal Base was known to be the best in terms of killing, and his attack power was the strongest in the Divine Wilderness. Why? Aren't you going to invite me in? Hey, soared Honorable Tsing Hui, if you have the strength and courage, why don't you come in? The brilliant Sun Emperor suppressed his displeasure and mocked Tsing Hui. Tsing Hui saw through the brilliant Sun Emperor's little trick and smiled. Since Master has invited me, I naturally can't refuse. As soon as he finished speaking, he actually ignored the level 13 formation that belonged to the Eternal Protective Mountain formation. He took a step forward, and a ripple spread out from his body. When he appeared again, he had actually stepped into the Eternal Protective Mountain formation. He was only 10 meters away from Emperor Yaoyang, Emperor Crimson Cloud, Emperor Yanzhu, and Emperor Xian Qiyu. Seeing Tsing Hui suddenly appear, the brilliant Sun Emperor was so frightened that his face changed and he quickly retreated. Even Emperor Qi Xia, Emperor Yanzhu, and Emperor Xian Qi could not help but retreat dozens of meters. After a while, they seemed to realize that this was their home ground and quickly stabilized their bodies. However, they could not help but be shocked. This is a teleportation technique that uses the spatial laws. Due to its extreme speed, it's like teleportation. You've broken through to the insightful void realm? No. The insightful void realm can at most integrate the spatial laws and make one almost invulnerable. It's not easy to use the spatial laws to teleport. The peak of the insightful void realm. You've already reached the peak of the insightful void realm? How is this possible? Damn it. 1 year. In just 1 year, he went from the divine stage to the peak of the insightful void realm? What's going on? Has the world gone crazy? The brilliant Sun Emperor cursed in his heart. Emperor Yanzhu and Emperor Xian Qi were so frightened that their faces changed and they became even more nervous. They could not help but want to inform Emperor Tai E and have him come out of seclusion. Fortunately, Emperor Qi Xia reacted quickly at the critical moment and hurriedly signaled for Emperor Yanzhu and Emperor Xian Qi to calm down. Qing Su had paid him a visit openly. If he really was plotting something against the Eternal Realm, he definitely would not have paid him a visit like this and come alone. She took a deep breath and forced herself to calm down. I didn't expect Sword Sovereign Tsing Hui to have cultivated to this level. No wonder he's called the Sword Sovereign. If this continues, it's only a matter of time before he becomes the Divine Wilderness's sovereign. Emperor Qi Xia, you flatter me. I'm just a junior. How could I dare to call myself the Divine Wilderness's sovereign? Sword Sovereign Tsing Hui, may I know why you've come to the Eternal Base? Emperor Qi Xia said the same thing again. Compared to before, there was a clear change in his tone. There was a hint of fear and reverence in his tone. The respect that the weak should have for the strong. Congratulations to an I on your wedding. You're no longer single. You can show off in your circle of friends every day. Chapter 743. At Emperor Crimson Cloud's invitation, Tsing Hui went straight to the Eternal's guest hall. Although the Eternal sect had already activated the Great Mountain Barrier formation, and the Sage Realm powerhouses had stepped into the formation, they only needed a single command from Emperor Crimson Cloud to form a battle formation that could trap and kill any intruder. However, Tsing Hui's expression didn't change at all, as if he didn't care about the Eternal Sect's Great Mountain Barrier Formation or the Sage Realm powerhouses at all. Seeing his fearless appearance and thinking of the terrifying battle strength of the four sects, Emperor Crimson Cloud and the others could only nip the idea of trapping and killing Tsing Hui in the bud. Their Eternal Sect was different from the Heavenly Tao. The Heavenly Tao had offended the four sects of the Firmament Realm, so it could naturally rest easy if it hid in the Great Mountain Barrier Formation. If Tsing Hui, esteemed Zhu Zhao by Heng, and Shadow Bearing were really determined to destroy it, it might not be impossible. When the time came, it would probably be a situation where both sides would suffer great losses. I actually came to the Eternal Sect to discuss something with everyone. The Eternal Sect, the Heavenly Tao, and the Divine Wilderness have always been at odds with each other. You must know that the Heavenly Tao has already contacted the worlds behind them. Now, a large number of experts from the original Heavenly Tao world are crossing over and about to invade the Divine Wilderness, right? These experts who have crossed over are all very powerful. Once they really arrive, the Heavenly Tao's power will expand to a point where no one can stop it. Our Firmament Realm, the Divine Wilderness, and even the Eternal Sect will face a calamity. Tsing Hui said indifferently. This news. Emperor Crimson Cloud looked a little embarrassed when Tsing Hui mentioned this. In fact, we have more or less heard about it, but we don't agree with the authenticity of this news. Oh? Does the Eternal Sect have any useful information? Emperor Crimson Cloud looked at Tsing Hui. They had always wanted to let the four sects and the Heavenly Tao suffer great losses, but in the current situation, the four sects obviously couldn't do anything to the Heavenly Tao that was protected by a 15th Order Great Formation. When they could really deal with the Heavenly Tao, the Eternal Sect and the Divine Wilderness would probably be in the bag of the four sections. From this point of view, the Eternal Sect was equivalent to Firmament's hidden enemy. What? The Heavenly Tao and the Eternal are enemies. Right now, the four sects are helping the Eternal Sect by attacking the Heavenly Tao. We want to ask some clues from the Eternal Sect, but you Eternal are overcautious? Could it be that you want to take advantage of the situation after our four sects and the Heavenly Tao are both heavily injured? Emperor Crimson Cloud's tone was displeased. Emperor Crimson Cloud. The brilliant Sun Emperor became rather displeased with his tone. He immediately slammed the table and stood up. Sword Venerable Qing Su, others call you a sovereign of the way of the sword, but do you really think you're a sovereign? Why should the Eternal Sect tell you the information we have? You'd better look carefully. You're in the territory of the Eternal Sect. Believe it or not, I'll activate the Eternal Sect's Great Protective Formation and make it impossible for you to return. Make it impossible for me to return? Tsing Hui sneered when he heard this. Even the space maze in the cave abode of a powerhouse who can create a world with a thought can't trap me. What right does the Eternal Sect have to make it impossible for me to return? There's no place in the entire Divine Wilderness that I can't go. If the Eternal Sect doesn't believe me, you can try. How dare you? Emperor Crimson Cloud Emperor, stand down. Emperor Crimson Cloud Emperor shouted when he saw Emperor Crimson Cloud Emperor bringing the situation to a stalemate. At the same time, he turned to Tsing Hui and said, Sword Venerable Tsing Hui, it's not right for a guest to steal the limelight from the host. Although we know that you have an impressive cultivation base, the Eternal Sect is not a pushover. If you're really aggressive, don't blame the Eternal Sect and the Heavenly Tao for forgetting our former enmity and turning our attention to the Heaven Dome Sect. I came here to inquire about the Heavenly Tao out of goodwill to find a way to deal with it, but your attitude really disappoints me. Sword Venerable Tsing Hui said coldly. He ignored Emperor Crimson Cloud Emperor and Emperor Crimson Cloud Emperor and looked directly into the Eternal Sect. Where's Emperor Tai? Ask him to come out and talk to me. Emperor Tai is in seclusion and cannot be disturbed. As for the information you want, Sword Venerable Tsing Hui, we can only say that what we know is also limited. However, I doubt that the heaven primordial world behind the heavenly Tao can organize a second expedition. Emperor Crimson Cloud Emperor maintained a tough exterior, but he still revealed the information they knew. In the absence of a starry sky teleportation formation, it's not easy for a world to conquer another world. Unless those existences in the chaotic realm, who have broken through to the realm of world creation with a thought personally appear. Only such existences can support a world to launch an expedition again and again. Otherwise, it would take hundreds or even thousands of years for a world to attack another world. This does not include the various dangers that may be encountered along the way. As far as I know, the heaven primordial world has been greatly damaged by the war against the divine wilderness world and has been targeted by other worlds. Whether it still exists is unknown, let alone conquering the divine wilderness world. After hearing Emperor Crimson Cloud Emperor's words, Xing Hui thought of the information that Venerable Zhu Zhao had investigated and understood. The divine wilderness world was severely damaged, and the worlds behind the heavenly Tao and the eternity were not any better. Really? Why didn't you say so earlier? Why did you have to make the atmosphere so awkward? Xing Hui said lightly. In fact, if there is a way to return to our world, we naturally want to go back. After all, the earth vein of the divine wilderness world has been destroyed and there is no future in this world. But, at this point, Emperor Crimson Cloud Emperor's expression became somewhat gloomy. I see. Give me a copy of the information you have about the heavenly Tao. We, the four sects of the Heaven Vault world, are willing to help you fight against the heavenly Tao. You should help us with this small matter. After a moment of silence, Emperor Crimson Cloud Emperor finally took out a jade booklet. We, the Eternity Sect, do not know much about the heavenly Tao. Here it is. Please take a look. Xing Hui took the jade booklet and scanned it with his spirit. What was recorded in it was basically information about the divine powers of the heavenly Tao's Tao Masters. With this information, Xing Hui did not want to waste any more time in the Eternity Sect. He nodded and said, "We will always remember the Eternity Sect's contribution to the destruction of the heavenly Tao. Now that I have this information, I will not disturb the Eternity Sect any longer. Goodbye." As soon as he finished speaking, he soared into the sky and quickly vanished into the horizon. You're really arrogant. If the heavenly Tao wants to die, it must be driven mad. I'd like to see who will have the last laugh in the end. However, it doesn't matter who has the last laugh. Emperor Tai has reached the critical moment of breaking through the void-shattering realm. Once he takes that crucial step, the heavenly Tao, the divine wilderness, and the heavenly Tao will all be crushed by the Eternity Sect. We, the Eternity Sect, are the ultimate rulers of the divine wilderness world and the Chaos Temple. Watching Xing Hui leave, Emperor Crimson Cloud Emperor's expression gradually turned cold. Emperor Crimson Cloud Emperor, is what you said true? Is there really no reinforcements from the heavenly Tao? According to the information I secretly received, the heavenly Tao seemed to be telling the truth. Everyone in the heavenly Tao firmly believes that there will be reinforcements from the heavenly Tao. Emperor Yen Zhu was puzzled. How can this be false? As early as 1,000 years ago, we already received news that the heaven primordial world behind the heavenly Tao had been attacked by the three hostile worlds. No matter how powerful the people of the heaven primordial world are, they were able to repel the enemies that invaded their world in the past 1,000 years. Do you think that they would have so much free time to go on a campaign against the divine wilderness world instead of recuperating and recovering as soon as possible? Emperor Crimson Cloud Emperor sneered. Emperor Yen Zhu and Emperor Xian Qi nodded in agreement. The heaven primordial world was indeed in a precarious situation. All right, have you investigated the matter of the Glorious Era sect? Apart from us, why are the people of the heavenly Tao also collecting spatial crystals? Could it be that there's a second teleportation array in the divine wilderness world that can be activated? I'm personally in charge of this matter, but recently I've discovered that the people of the Glorious Era sect seem to be disloyal. They seem to want to break away from the eternal world. Moreover, they've secretly begun to contact the heavenly Tao. Emperor Yen Zhu's tone was grave. Break away from the eternal world? Humph. The people of the Glorious Era sect sure have gut. Don't tell me they've forgotten how they got to where they are today? Then wait. Even if the Glorious Era sect is disloyal, they won't dare to openly show it. We'll turn a blind eye and wait until Emperor Tai Yi breaks through. Once Emperor Tai Yi steps into the void-shattering realm, the people of the Glorious Era sect will understand the serious consequences of their little actions. I understand. Emperor Yen Zhu nodded. For now, let's play it safe and let them fight to the death. After Tsing Hui received the news, he naturally left the eternal world. However, he also understood that the information given by the eternal world could only be half believed at best. The final situation could only be determined after he returned from the divine wilderness and combined the two together with the intelligence channels controlled by the heavenly Tao and the other forces. Compared to the eternal world, the divine wilderness was a local force and had an innate advantage. Naturally, the intelligence channels of the eternal world could not compare to them. Therefore, before Tsing Hui arrived at the divine wilderness encampment, there were already people waiting outside. Moreover, the divine wilderness array had been activated long ago. The auras of 4 saint stage powerhouses were faintly discernible inside. In addition, there were 3 saint stage powerhouses waiting outside the array to receive him. This lineup could not be said to be small. Haha, I heard that Sword Sovereign Tsing Hui has come to visit. Vast Sea has specially waited here for your arrival. Among the 3 saint stage powerhouses waiting outside the array, Divine Sovereign Vast Sea was the first to speak with a smile. Divine Sovereign Vast Sea. Tsing Hui nodded to Divine Sovereign Vast Sea. I wonder if Divine Sovereign Vast Sea has inquired about the purpose of my visit? I haven't specifically inquired about it, but the eternal world deliberately spread similar news. There's no need to inquire about it. Sword Sovereign Tsing Hui, you've come to ask about the Heavenly Tao's reinforcements and also to understand the Heavenly Tao's background, right? Divine Sovereign Vast Sea said with a smile. Chapter 744. That's right. Tsing Hui nodded. We of the divine wilderness do indeed possess a deep understanding of the heavenly way. If the Green Ruins Sword Venerable is willing to destroy these cultivators who have invaded our divine wilderness and wreaked havoc, we of the divine wilderness will do our best to support you. Hierarch Vast Sea said as he took out a jade booklet. This is the detailed information we've collected about the Heavenly Tao over the years, as well as the estimates and speculations of the Heavenly Tao's reinforcements that are unlikely to come. Tsing Hui did not expect the people of the divine wilderness to hand over the information so readily. He could not help but be surprised. However, thinking that the divine wilderness probably had the intention of sitting on top of the mountain and watching the tigers fight, he felt that their actions were reasonable. In fact, Sword Sovereign Tsing Hui, I personally feel that compared to the unknown reinforcements of the Heavenly Tao that will take many years to arrive in our divine wilderness, what we really need to pay attention to are the people of eternity. How do you know? In fact, 1,000 years ago, the world behind Eternal used some unknown method to partially repair the transmission array between Eternal and our divine wilderness, allowing Eternal to contact the world behind them. After 1,000 years, this transmission array that was only partially repaired has now been completely perfected. The only problem now is that there is not enough energy left to activate this transmission array. Because of the technical problems with the restoration of the array, only Eternal can activate the array. However, to activate this transmission array that spans billions of kilometers requires an astronomical amount of void crystals. Because of this, until now, Eternal has not completely obtained enough void crystals to activate the array and receive reinforcements from the other side of the array. Supreme God Vast Sea said, "There is a transmission array in eternity?" "That's right," Supreme God Vast Sea said with a regretful expression. "In fact, the 4 sects of the divine wilderness have joined forces to fight against the heavenly Tao. As a part of the divine wilderness, we have to stand up and help you fight against the heavenly Tao and weaken the power of these invaders as much as possible. The reason why our divine wilderness has not made any moves is mainly because we have been distracted by the news from eternity. If Sword Sovereign Tsing Hui carefully investigates, he will find that in the past 10 years, our divine wilderness and eternity have had frequent conflicts. Sometimes, even saint stage experts have appeared. The main purpose of this is to provide an opportunity for others to spy on eternity." Tsing Hui did not doubt Supreme God Vast Sea's words. "Sword Sovereign Tsing Hui, although you haven't stepped into your current realm for long, as time passes and you are shackled by the resources and yuan qi of the divine wilderness, it will be difficult for you to improve your cultivation. It won't be long before you become like us, trapped in the saint stage and unable to make any further progress. If you want to step further into the vacuum-shattering realm and condense a divine true body with a lifespan of tens of thousands of years, you will have to find a way to leave the divine wilderness. There are 2 ways to leave the divine wilderness. One is to forge a flying boat, but even if the flying boat is forged, it will take at least several hundred years to travel from one world to another. This method can only be used as a backup. The best way is to have the transmission array in our hand. If we can control it and go to the world behind eternity, a wider world will unfold for us. At that time, with your talent, let alone cultivating a divine true body and extending your lifespan for tens of thousands of years, it will not be an extravagant hope for you to even create a world with a thought and become a mighty expert of a world." Supreme God Vast Sea's tone was bewitching as he stared at Tsing Hui with sparkling eyes. "A mighty expert of a world?" Tsing Hui looked at Supreme God Vast Sea in front of him and could not help sneering. "In the end, you are just using me to deal with eternity." Supreme God Vast Sea shook his head. "This matter is not about using you or not. We have a common interest and should work together." "Work together?" Tsing Hui was slightly dumbfounded. "I'm very curious. If you open the transmission array to the world behind eternity, aren't you afraid of being killed by the masters stationed there as soon as you arrive? Won't that be the same as sending yourself to death?" "We've obviously considered this problem already, but how we deal with it is related to the chaotic divine hall. If the Green Ruin Swordmaster is willing to join us, we're willing to tell you everything about our plans. As a matter of fact, even if we can leave the divine wilderness once we've gathered enough spatial crystals, you can still lead us." Speaking of this, Supreme God Vast Sea paused for a moment. Sword Venerable Tsing Hui should be able to sense that those who can cultivate to the divine wilderness are all dragons among men and peerless geniuses. If they really go to a world without the constraints of resources and environment, everyone's cultivation will definitely increase by leaps and bounds within 100 years. Advancing 1 or 2 realms won't be a problem at all. At that time, Sword Venerable Tsing Hui will have such a force in hand and will have the foundation to establish himself in that world. At that time, I'm afraid that you won't be able to obtain a steady stream of resources. Alright, Supreme God Vast Sea, there is no need to waste your breath. Those who walk different paths cannot make plans together. Since I have already obtained information about the heavenly Tao, I will not disturb you any further. Farewell. After Tsing Hui finished speaking, he stood up. Sword Venerable Tsing Hui, there is no need to worry. You can go back and think about it slowly. I believe that one day you will understand. Supreme God Vast Sea smiled and said, his expression rather calm. I don't want the people of the divine wilderness to do anything that will endanger the future development of the divine wilderness. After Tsing Hui finished speaking, he cupped his hands and left without saying another word. After Tsing Hui left, Supreme God Feng Shao, who was standing beside Supreme God Vast Sea, coldly snorted, "You don't want us to do anything that will endanger the future development of the divine wilderness? What, they haven't even become the overlord of the divine wilderness, yet they have already begun to consider themselves the overlord of the divine wilderness. Don't forget, back then, it was our divine wilderness that spent a great deal of effort to preserve the divine wilderness, but did our divine wilderness claim any credit? At this rate, if we really let them soar, will there still be a place for us to live?" Supreme God Vast Sea waved his hand slightly, motioning for Supreme God Feng Shao to calm down, and then said with a smile, "Sword Venerable Tsing Hui is different from us old fellows. He is a peerless genius who took 40 years to cultivate to the profound void stage, so it is reasonable for him to be arrogant and despotic. For him to reach the profound void stage in 40 years, how difficult would it be for him to break through to a higher realm in the future? But let's wait and see. Maybe he can take the step to shatter the vacuum, but when the divine true body stage, which requires a huge amount of resources, blocks him like a natural chasm, making him unable to make any progress for hundreds or even thousands of years, he will understand that only by joining our divine wilderness and leaving this world with us can he have a broader world. Then, our divine wilderness will just watch him show off in front of us before swaggering off? We need to be tolerant and patient. Sword Venerable Tsing Hui's power has already been established. Before we have enough confidence to deal with him, we'd better restrain our temperament. Otherwise, we will only be asking for trouble." Supreme God Vast Sea said lightly. Supreme God Feng Zhao's expression changed slightly when he heard Supreme God Vast Sea's words, but in the end, he did not continue. There is actually a spatial teleportation array in eternity that leads to the world behind eternity. On the way back to Sky Vault, Tsing Hui's mind flashed through many thoughts. He understood why the divine wilderness had told him this news. It was nothing more than wanting him to deal with eternity after destroying Tian Dao. It was just that, it had to be said that Supreme God Vast Sea's plan was really useful to him. The divine wilderness was restricted by its environment and other factors, making it very difficult for him to break through to a higher realm in a short time. He had to go to a world with more abundant resources, and the world behind eternity was undoubtedly the best choice. Although this world was weaker than the heyday of the divine wilderness, it was not that much weaker. If he could go to that world, according to the cultivation speed of this world and the foundation of the transformation of his spiritual world by the fortune jade, it might not be impossible for him to cultivate to the realm of a thought world within 16 years. As long as he could reach a thought world, it would be much easier to solve the crisis of Earth. At that time, he could even go to the battlefield where the territories of the Master of Chaos, the Master of Time, and the Master of Gods converged through other channels. From there, he could defeat True God Extet and indirectly dissolve the threat of True God Extet's lineage to Earth's civilization. Thinking of this, Tsing Hui's expression gradually became solemn. There are many saints in eternity. If they leave the mountain guarding array and confront me head-on, I won't be afraid. With my understanding of the law of space and the sword of eclipse, even if everyone in eternity, including the Tai E Emperor, swarms me, my chances of winning are more than 80%. But if the people of eternity hide in the mountain guarding array and passively defend like Tian Dao, Tsing Hui frowned. He really did not have the ability to destroy eternity by himself. Of course, if he joined the 4 sects of the Heaven Vault sect, he should be able to destroy eternity. But in the face of the counterattack of an unbelievably profound force like eternity before death, the price he would have to pay would be extremely heavy. After a moment of silence, Xing Hui made a decision in his heart. A day later, he appeared in the Heaven Vault Sect's encampment. Learning of his arrival, the Firmament Master immediately asked, Xing Hui, how is it? Is there really an expert from Tian Dao coming? Eternity and the Divine Wilderness think that this is unlikely. Xing Hui said. The Firmament Master nodded his head and said at the same time, in fact, we have been interrogating the Lihan Holy Man recently. It's a pity that the Lihan Holy Man is so loyal to the heavenly axiom that he has not relented. The Lihan Holy Man has not relented until now? Xing Hui frowned. The next moment, he was horrified. At present, our Heaven Vault sect is powerful. Anyone can see that Tian Dao is an arrow at the end of its flight and can only rely on the mountain guarding array to survive. If the Lihan Holy Man is sensible, it is impossible for him not to change his choice. But he is still unswervingly supporting Tian Dao. Then, there is only one possibility. Tian Dao, I can counterattack. Chapter 745. The heavenly axiom has a way to turn the tables. Xing Hui's words stunned the Firmament Master. His expression turned serious as he said, furthermore, there should be 100% chance that they can turn the tables. Doesn't that mean the reinforcements from the heavenly axiom are real? Yes. Otherwise, I can't think of any reason why the Lihan Holy Man would still cling to the heavenly axiom's position. This is bad. Only we can deduce that the reinforcements from the heavenly axiom are real. The eternal and divine wilderness think that reinforcements from the heavenly axiom are real. This means that we can't get any reinforcements from the eternal and divine wilderness. So what if we get reinforcements from the eternal and divine wilderness? Even if we combine our powers, we may not be able to break through the protective mountain formation of the heavenly axiom. Even if the Zhenjiao Exalted Master breaks through to the void-shattering realm, he still can't do anything to the protective mountain formation of the heavenly axiom. Xing Hui said. The Firmament Master fell silent when he heard this. The biggest problem was that no one could do anything to the protective mountain formation of the heavenly axiom. The only way to stop the reinforcements from coming was to destroy the connection between the heavenly axiom and the reinforcements from the heavenly axiom. The world was vast and endless. Without the guidance of coordinates, it was almost impossible to travel from one world to another. The probability was equivalent to traveling from a small fishing village in North America to a small village in Eurasia. Without navigation, it was impossible to find the right direction. What's more, the universe was three-dimensional and not flat like the ocean. In this way, without navigation guidance, it would be even more difficult to find the target world. Can we only watch the people from the heavenly axiom hide in their turtle shell until the reinforcements from the heavenly axiom arrive? The void-shattering realm power can't break through the defense of the heavenly axiom. However, the divine true body is formed by refining one's abhijna, soul, inner yuan and many other powers into one's own body. Compared to the void-shattering realm, the divine true body is much more powerful. It can completely tear apart the defense of the heavenly axiom. Xing Hui said. The divine true body. The Zhenjiao Exalted Master may have a chance to break through to the divine true body, but it will take decades or even centuries. Xing Hui fell silent. He could barely tear the defense of the heavenly axiom apart. However, the defense of the heavenly axiom could be repaired immediately. If he tore a corner of it, the defense of the heavenly axiom would be repaired. If he was not careful, he would be trapped himself would be trapped. Even if he used the transformation technique to transform into the divine beast Kuan Pung, it would still be difficult for him to completely tear apart the formation of the heavenly Tao in such a short time. There was no way. Let's find a way axiom, Master Firmament said again. Qing Su nodded. That was the only thing they could do now. After Master Firmament left, Qing Su thought to himself for a moment before directly contacting Sword Saint Xiao Luiying of the Hidden Sword Sect through the Chaos Divine Hall. Very soon, he obtained the coordinates of the Hidden Sword Sect. As the energy ripples of the avatar technique dispersed, the avatar and the true body swapped places. The Qing Su's true body had already appeared in Xiao Luiying's courtyard. Xiao Luiying, who had heard of Tsing Hui's battle achievements, immediately bowed respectfully. "Greetings, Sword Master Tsing Hui. Welcome back to the sect, Great Elder Tsing Hui." Tsing Hui nodded to Xiao Luiying and asked, "How is the Hidden Sword Sect doing?" In response to the Great Elder, the Hidden Sword Sect is currently at peace, and the Hidden Sword Continent is also experiencing favorable weather. Right now, our Hidden Sword Sect is even planning to open our doors in 3 months' time to recruit disciples. If the Great Elder of the Qing Su ruins is fortunate enough to attend, the entire Hidden Sword Sect will definitely be honored. 3 months I will attend if I have time. Tsing Hui replied casually and went straight to the point. Is Sword Master Hidden Sword here? Sword Master Hidden Sword has been in the Myriad Swords Peak ever since he returned to the sect a year ago. He has not left the mountain yet. Well, I will go to the Myriad Swords Peak. You can do your own things, Tsing Hui said and jumped up. He did not use any divine powers, but his figure was already shuttling through the void at an incredible speed. Soon, he arrived at the Myriad Swords Peak. As soon as he arrived at the Myriad Swords Peak, Qing Su studied the mountain that was rumored to be filled with various wondrous things. The last time he came to the Myriad Swords Peak, his cultivation was still weak. Even though he could feel that the Myriad Swords Peak was extraordinary, he still couldn't figure it out. But this time, not only had his cultivation reached the level of the insightful Void Realm, but his spiritual power had also reached the peak of the insightful Void Realm. In addition, the Fortune Divine Jade had molded and changed his divine soul, causing his vision to change dramatically. Under these changes, he immediately sensed the mysterious and great will that Sword Master Hidden Sword had mentioned. It was an indescribable, invisible, and untouchable existence. However, Qing Su just happened to know that it was in the mountain. There is indeed a great secret hidden in the Myriad Swords Peak. Tsing Hui looked serious. After pondering for a while, he first activated the backtracking technique. Then, he stepped onto the Myriad Swords Peak and landed beside Sword Master Hidden Sword, who was quietly comprehending the sword will. "Sword Master," Tsing Hui said. Sword Master Hidden Sword opened his eyes, and an obscure wave of energy flashed across his body. Feeling this wave of energy, Tsing Hui smiled faintly. "Congratulations, Sword Master. Sword Force is in sight." A smile appeared on Hidden Sword Venerable's face as he said, "I didn't expect Hidden Sword Peak to be so mysterious. Back then, I sensed a terrifying intent from this peak, so I feared this peak like a tiger. However, I didn't expect that this peak, which contains tens of thousands of sword spirits, would have such an incredible effect on the comprehension of sword intent and sword Tao. Over the past year, not only have my sword Tao improved a lot, I've even vaguely touched upon the threshold of sword force. If I continue to cultivate, I might really be able to comprehend sword force. Sword Master is a genius. You created the ultimate sword Tao. In terms of talent, there are probably less than 10 people in the entire divine wilderness who can stand shoulder to shoulder with you. With your talent, comprehending sword force will be a piece of cake," Tsing Hui said sincerely. Sword Master Hidden Sword waved his hand. "I am no longer the same as before." After saying that, he changed the topic to Tsing Hui. "Tsing Hui, you came here this time. Are you planning to immerse yourself in Sword Tao and use Sword Tao to resonate with the Great Will in Myriad Swords Peak?" "Yes and no," Tsing Hui said as he looked down at Myriad Swords Peak. "If my senses are not wrong, I already know where the Great Sword Spirit is." You can actually sense the Sword Spirit?" Hidden Sword Venerable's heart trembled, According to what I know, the myriad sword peak has existed since a long time ago. Its history can even be traced back to the ancient times before the divine desolate world was destroyed. In that era, our divine desolate world was filled with experts, and the number of Saint Realm experts were as many as the stars in the sky. But even in that era, it is said that no one understood the mysteries of the myriad sword peak, and now you. But now. This is a feeling that has nothing to do with cultivation or realm. Qing Su pondered slightly. He was unable to understand the reason for this feeling either. In the end, he could only say, perhaps my way of the sword really has resonated with it. Now, all I need to do is find a way to awaken that great sword spirit and have him lead me into the mountain. Sword Venerable Hidden Sword sucked in a deep breath when he heard that. Looks like this great sword spirit really is fated to be with you. Qing Su, I hope you can grasp this opportunity well. Of course, if there's danger, don't force yourself. You have a great future ahead of you, so if there's danger, you have to be careful. Where there's life, there's hope. I understand. Xing Hui nodded slightly. In the next moment, he waved his hand and the scarlet sword appeared in his hand. At the same time, he began to immerse himself in the novelty and excitement of the first time he came into contact with the Dongyang sword sect's swordsmanship. However, as soon as he thought of the Eastern Sun sword sect, Qing Su could not help but think of his senior sister Jiang Ningji's figure. He thought about how he had been on Earth for an entire year, yet he had not received any news from her at all. It was very likely that she had met a tragic end, so his heart immediately ached slightly. Sword Master Hidden Sword could vaguely feel the change in Xing Hui's sword essence. However, at this moment, Xing Hui was clearly immersing himself in his sword Dao realm so that he could resonate with the great sword spirit. Sword Master Hidden Sword did not dare to disturb him and quietly left the myriad sword's peak. He also ordered his disciple, Xing Hui, to seal off the myriad sword's peak and prevent anyone from going up the mountain. He did not want any disciples to disturb Xing Hui and cause him to miss out on a great opportunity. Time flew by. Xing Hui tried his best to immerse himself in the purity of the first time he came into contact with swordsmanship. Gradually, he seemed to have sensed something and was moved. He did not know how many mornings he had set foot on the myriad sword's peak, but he quietly began to practice the various swordsmanship of the Dongyang sword sect. The swordsmanship of the Dongyang sword sect was not considered brilliant, but at this moment, when it was being performed by Xing Hui, there was an indescribable sense of naturalness, harmony, and beauty. If any martial artist from Earth were to see Xing Hui practicing his swordsmanship, they would definitely not treat his swordsmanship as some kind of peerless killing swordsmanship. Instead, they would treat it as art, nature, and all things. It was like a ray of morning sunlight that shone in the forest. It was also like a faint stream of clear spring water that flowed quietly. Harmony. Nature. During this process of practice, his spiritual world that had been transformed by the creation divine jade naturally penetrated into the swordsmanship and merged with it. It made the swordsmanship divine and transformed into sword essence. This wave of sword essence seemed to have caused a mysterious resonance in the myriad sword's peak. Suddenly, a great will began to awaken in the myriad sword's peak. As Xing Hui's mind was completely immersed in his swordsmanship, he did not sense the arrival of this great will at all. However, Hidden Sword Venerable, who was outside the myriad sword's peak, even though Hidden Sword Venerable was strong enough to fight against a divine being, he still sensed this great will immediately. For a moment, his body could not help but tremble slightly. I knew it. Xing Hui will definitely be chosen by the great sword spirit. He is the sword spirit, the chosen one of the entire world. Chapter 746. Xing Hui, who was immersed in his own swordsmanship, could not sense the changes in the outside world at all, nor was he aware of the mighty power displayed by the great sword spirit in this mountain. It was a mighty power that could change space. A second ago, Tsing Hui was still practicing swordsmanship on the mountain peak, but the next second, his figure had quietly appeared in a towering and magnificent palace. This palace could not be called luxurious, but it had an indescribable natural harmony. Every pillar, every mural, every incense burner, and even every piece of furniture was placed so naturally. It seemed that if any item was destroyed or the layout of any place changed, this natural and harmonious beauty would vanish. And in this palace, an old man wearing a Taoist robe with an 8 trigrams pattern printed on the chest and back was quietly sizing up Tsing Hui, who was immersed in his swordsmanship. At the same time, he seemed to be sensing something, staring at his sword with bright eyes. Or rather, the sword intent emanating from his sword. This old man had a head full of white hair and a long beard that almost reached his waist, but his face did not show any signs of old age. His appearance had a sparkling and translucent jade-like feeling, faintly reflecting light in this clean and tidy hall. No, not reflecting light. But this old man seemed to be left with only a shadow, but this kind of illusion was not very obvious, and could not be seen at all if one did not look carefully. The old man looked at Tsing Hui for a moment, and then quietly made a move. A clear light shot out from the palm of his hand, directly entering between Tsing Hui's eyebrows. The next moment, Tsing Hui, who was just practicing the swordsmanship of the Dongyang sword sect, suddenly changed his swordsmanship. A blazing and violent intent swept out from his swordsmanship, turning into a flame that seemed to be able to burn the void, and constantly spread in all directions. This was the sword of the glorious sun. The moment the sword of the glorious sun spread out, the blazing and violent energy inside had undergone a new round of changes, and an even more terrifying power burst out from it. This was the sword of the glorious sun, which had evolved from the sword of the glorious sun. Not long after the sword of sunlight spread out, Tsing Hui's sword once again slashed forward. Under this slash, the void space seemed to be distorted by an invisible force. An unbelievably huge gravitational field came crashing down, accompanied by an unprecedented light that seemed to be formed from the distortion and collapse of space. Supernova. This was the sword of eclipse. After the demonstration of the sword of solar eclipse, Tsing Hui's swordsmanship seemed to pause for a moment. But then, the spatial distortion caused by the explosion and collapse seemed to have broken another limit. The distorted space turned into all-devouring darkness, and a frighteningly powerful gravitational force spread out from the all-devouring darkness. Matter, vitality, spells, abilities, and even light were all devoured by the darkness. When the old man saw this, his eyes finally lit up. Seeing that after this slash, Tsing Hui's swordsmanship seemed to have come to an end, the old man pondered for a moment, and once again shot out a clear light into Tsing Hui's body. As he shot out this clear light, his illusory figure that needed to be seen clearly suddenly became clear. Correspondingly, Tsing Hui's swordsmanship, which seemed to have come to an end, began to change again. But this change seemed to be extremely slow, and constantly consumed Tsing Hui's energy, spirit, and yuan qi, as if he was stimulating the potential of his life to deduce this sword that had never appeared before. Tsing Hui's fourth sword was a simulation of a black hole. And what was a black hole? It was just a new kind of celestial body, not a hole with another universe inside. It was just that this celestial body was incredibly dense, causing its gravitational force to be so great that even light was bound to its surface and could not be reflected, making it impossible for human vision to capture its existence. But a black hole was not truly immortal and everlasting. All the matter inside a black hole would be decomposed into neutrinos and smaller particles, and then be ejected again. As this ejection process continued, the black hole would eventually evaporate, or even explode into nothingness. At that time, although the black hole had disappeared, The new particles that were decomposed and reconstructed by it would be reborn in a different way, giving rise to a new realm. A realm that could be in touch with the origin of the world. A realm that could be in touch with the legendary Haotian primordial qi, also known as Tao. Unfortunately, with the help of the old man, Tsing Hui seemed to have seen something, but this so-called Haotian primordial qi, this so-called sky, was a mess. Countless broken substances were ejected from this broken sky, and then they were precipitated and smelted in the universe, and finally they became a strange substance. A substance called Tao Rime, Shun Rime, or Time Rime. Tao Rime? As his thoughts turned from the Tao Rime, Tsing Hui, who was completely immersed in the comprehension of swordsmanship, suddenly woke up from that mysterious realm. Just as he woke up, an unprecedented weakness had already surged into his mind. The strength of this weakness was like a landslide and a tsunami, destroying all the willpower that Tsing Hui could possess, and instantly dimming his spiritual world. If it were not for the fact that his spiritual world had been modified by the Fortune Jade and was being suppressed by the Fortune Jade, his spiritual world would have collapsed completely and he would have fallen into a tragic state where his soul would scatter. But even so, his consciousness remained awake for less than a second, and he still fell into a coma as if to protect himself. Tsing Hui, who was in a coma, seemed to have fallen into a grotesque and variegated state. Just like when a person was sick with a fever, due to the influence of their consciousness, they might have all kinds of incredible dreams in their sleep. It was the same for Tsing Hui, who had exhausted his energy, spirit, and vitality. In the dream, he seemed to have transformed into the agent of a vast and indescribable great willpower, inspecting a world that spanned tens of millions of light-years. The circulation of vitality in the entire world, the rise and fall of the sun, the setting of the moon, and the 6 realms of reincarnation were all under his supervision and control. This feeling made him feel very mysterious. However, this feeling did not last long before the unimaginably vast great willpower was torn apart by countless more terrifying forces. A doomsday aura filled the entire world, as if the world was falling apart and everything was sinking into oblivion. Although countless meteors rose slowly and collided with the terrifying willpower from the outside world, and dazzling sparks sputtered out, but that was all in the end. The will of heaven collapsed, and an unprecedented panic and fear filled his entire body. Then, he seemed to be torn apart by several mighty forces, and finally, under the influence of the will of heaven that had not completely collapsed, he was split into 4 and sputtered in all directions. In this dream, there were no images, no material object. Everything was filled with a gray fog. He could only feel prosperity, exhaustion, satisfaction, shock, fear, despair, and other emotions. Especially in the later stages, these emotions that seemed to originate from the depths of his soul constantly tortured him, almost driving him crazy. However, like a person who had fallen into a nightmare, no matter how much he struggled, how much he roared, how much he screamed, the feelings of fear and despair always wrapped around him, lingering around him, as if they wanted to drag him down, 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 and down until he was beyond redemption. This torture lasted for an unknown period of time. It could be a year, it could be 10 years, it could be an eternity. Finally, in this torture, Tsing Hui seemed to have grasped an opportunity. He suddenly struggled and broke free. Outside, his eyes that had been tightly shut and could not be opened no matter how hard he tried, suddenly opened. Shock, fear, despair, and other emotions turned into a suffocating divine light that shot out. If this divine light was looked directly at by any cultivator whose spiritual level had not reached level 130, the negative emotions contained in it would be enough to cause Tsing Hui's consciousness to collapse and his soul to be annihilated. Huff, huff, huff. Tsing Hui panted violently, like a drowning person who had just floated to the surface of the water. The fatigue in his spirit and body surged in waves, almost swallowing him completely. How can this be? You'd better not act rashly now. Wait until your so-called recovery characteristics have healed your body. An old voice with a trace of fatigue sounded in Tsing Hui's ears. Immediately, Tsing Hui's gaze turned and fell directly on the white-robed old man, who had the demeanor of a transcendent being. However, this old man's appearance had changed greatly from when he had first appeared. He could barely maintain his human form, and it seemed like he would turn into a cloud of mist in the next second. Tsing Hui sized up the old man for a moment, sensing the aura of the great will that he had vaguely sensed. His eyes narrowed. Don't be impatient. The old man said, it's not too late to ask after you've rested for a while. Tsing Hui took a deep breath. His body was so weak that he was at the end of his rope. Fortunately, as his consciousness recovered, under the influence of the 10th level recovery characteristics of the Son of Chaos, he gradually regained a trace of vitality. However, his face was still deathly pale. After more than an hour, Tsing Hui felt that his strength had more or less recovered. Only then did he turn to the old man. When he had first sensed this old man, he had clearly sensed a power so strong that it made one tremble. Although there was not much energy, just a trace of it was enough to make his heart tremble. But now the old man's aura was still unfathomable, but it did not pose as much of a threat to him as before. At the very least, he could vaguely sense the old man's level. Very strong. He was much stronger than any Saint Stage powerhouse he had ever seen. But, if he really wanted to fight, the level of energy he could maintain might not even reach the level of a world with a single thought. Behind the black hole sword was basically stepping into the astral world. Chapter 747. 7-Star Demon Refining Sword? Tsing Hui looked at the old man in front of him, and asked in an uncertain tone. That's right. I'm the sword spirit of the 7-Star Demon Refining Sword. You can call me 7-Star. Tsing Hui's breathing quickened slightly. The Tao Protector Sword of the Grand Supreme Saint in Myths and Legends? 7-Star's eyes turned deep as he looked at Tsing Hui with a scrutinizing gaze. You know about the Grand Supreme Saint? Any rumors about the primordial era in this world should have been annihilated a long time ago. Tsing Hui was mentally prepared for this answer. After a moment of silence, he answered truthfully, this might have something to do with the fact that I didn't come from this world. There are rumors about the Grand Supreme Saint in your world? Tell me about it. 7-Star asked in a deep voice. Tsing Hui nodded and recalled all the rumors he knew about the mythological era. However, he immediately discovered that his thoughts were much faster than before. Moreover, even though his essence, energy, and spirit had yet to recover to their peak, he could still sense the changes in his body. For a moment, he couldn't help but look at the character model of the Son of Chaos. The other data didn't change from before, but the key was his spirit. Ever since he returned to the divine wilderness from Earth, his mental strength was at level 149. But at this moment, when he looked at his mental strength again, he realized that his mental strength had reached level 160. Compared to the previous level of 149, it was a full 11 levels higher. Tsing Hui seemed to know why he was surprised and immediately said, Don't make a fuss. I used what little power I had left to stimulate your life potential. Even though your life potential is concentrated on your spirit, because I'm only a sword spirit, your physique should also have a significant increase. The only thing I can't do is true qi. This world's true qi originates from the so-called 12 mythological beasts, but these 12 mythological beasts are no longer the 12 mythological beasts of the past. Physique. Tsing Hui's body had yet to fully recover, and his spirit qi was severely depleted, but this didn't affect his ability to sense the changes in his body. He was surprised to discover that his physique strength had greatly increased. Now, he had at least reached the 12th level. With the physique of a 12th level Saint Beast and the spirit of a 161st level Saint Beast, Coupled with the miraculous transformation art, how difficult could it be to tear apart the Heaven's Path divine mountain barrier formation? Tell me about the so-called myths and legends of your world. Yes. Sing Hui's heart trembled. The sword spirit of the seven-star demon smelt sword was clearly a spent force. Just like the sword spirits he had encountered on the Myriad Swords Peak before, most of their spirituality had already vanished from the corrosion of time. Even so, he was still able to raise his mental and physical strength by a large amount with ease. It was possible to imagine just how powerful the sword spirit was when he was at his peak. If we want to talk about the myths and legends of our world, we have to start from when Pangu created the world. Sing Hui organized his words and said, as he had noticed that the myths and legends of the divine wilderness world were somewhat similar to those of Earth, he specially went to learn about the ancient legends of Earth when he returned to Earth. Now that he was talking about these legends, his words were clear and orderly. While he was organizing his words, he didn't notice that after he talked about Pangu creating the world, the pupils of the seven-star sword spirit in front of him shrank. However, he hid it so well that Sing Hui didn't sense any abnormalities at all. The seven-star demon smelt sword spirit listened patiently as Sing Hui slowly narrated. From Pangu creating the world, Hong Jun fighting Luo Ho, to the dragon phoenix Calamity, to the liches and demons fighting for hegemony, a series of myths and legends were narrated clearly by Sing Hui, all the way to the modern era where Lu Bowen slayed the dragon and the end of the world. When the seven-star sword spirit heard Sing Hui's words, his expression became more and more solemn. When he finished talking about these myths and legends, he couldn't help but take a deep breath and stare at Sing Hui. You came from the source world? Impossible. This is impossible. The source world was sealed by the prime clear sage himself. As the last seed to preserve the immortal civilization, it's impossible for anyone to enter and exit it. The seven-star sword spirit's words made Sing Hui's heart skip a beat. The seal of the prime clear sage you mentioned, is it made up of a towering divine tree so tall that the top can't be seen? And the source of its energy is a piece of creation divine jade? I didn't follow the prime clear sage to set up the seal, so I don't know what the seal is made of. However, if you want to seal time and space, you can only rely on the power of the creation divine jade. The seven-star sword spirit looked at Sing Hui and opened his mouth, wanting to ask something. However, gradually, his expression became gloomy. The seal of the source world has dissipated. It looks like we've really lost. Completely lost. Sing Hui's heart tightened slightly. The seven-star demon smelt sword was the sword of the Grand Supreme Sage. Naturally, it was very familiar with the disappearance of the mythical civilization on Earth. In particular, according to it, Earth was actually the true god Axon and the source world that everyone was looking for. This made him even more eager to know the truth. What happened? The source world? The Earth is the source world? What is the reason for this? Senior 7-star, please explain. The seven-star sword spirit shook his head and said with a trace of disappointment in his voice, the source world is the most secretive seed of the immortal civilization. It should be supported by the creation divine jade and supported by a formation. It is hidden in the turbulence of time and space. Not to mention space, even time will not leave any trace in it. However, although the source world is independent of space and time, it is also a completely sealed small world. It is impossible for any living beings to have any connection with the living beings of the outside world. Now you, who came from the source world, have appeared in this world. This means that the source world must have been breached. If even the source world has been breached, then we have completely failed. What's going on? Although the world I live in is currently a little dangerous, we are still living well and have not been affected. You don't understand. The power of those creatures is far beyond your imagination, especially the three creatures who stand at the top. They can even play with time and space in the palm of their hand. They know the location of the source world, and after taking away what they want, you will not notice at all. I really don't understand, but as a member of the source world, I have the right to know what happened. Xing Hui said with certainty. The seven-star sword spirit looked at the determined Xing Hui and his expression dimmed. He shook his head, and although he did not want to say more, he still said, "It was a war." "What kind of war?" "A kind of war that neither you nor I can imagine. At that time, my cultivation was called Primordial Unity Golden Immortal and belonged to the fourth class of immortals. Above me were Zenith Heaven Golden Immortals, sage to be with great divine powers, and those saints who lived as long as the heavens and shone as brightly as the sun and the moon. However, in that war, I did not even have the right to participate in it. I could only watch from afar, pray and hope. The other side of the war was the Master of Gods, the Master of Time, and the Master of Chaos? The Master of Gods, the Master of Time, and the Master of Chaos were only the most powerful individuals. There were other individuals who existed after all eternity. When the seven-star sword spirit said this, his expression was filled with endless sorrow. Eternity? What's eternity? A supreme existence. This kind of existence is invisible, unheard, unspeakable, and undetectable, the seven-star sword spirit said with a shake of his head. When the seven-star sword spirit said this, he shook his head sadly. This kind of life is too far away from me. I only heard a few words from the Grand Master. It is said that this is the ultimate pursuit of all life in the world. Therefore, this realm is also called the ultimate, the end of everything. Xing Hui was silent. He was not even a true immortal now, and the seven-star sword spirit was already a primordial unity golden immortal of the fourth class of immortals. It was a realm that even he could not hope to reach. It was simply a pipe dream for him to try and understand it now. That war brought about endless fear and despair. I only know that at the beginning of the war, the battlefield was still in the outside world, but one day, the flames of war suddenly spread to the inner world. Later on, demi-saints fell one after another, and saints collapsed one after another. Even the old master was no exception. In the end, I only heard from the old master that as long as a trace of the immortal civilization was not destroyed, the saints would be immortal. As long as they were alive, they could rely on their immortality to return from the long river of time. Therefore, they created a source world that was independent of time and space. As long as the immortal civilization was not destroyed, the saints would not die. When the seven-star sword spirit said this, he glanced at Xing Hui again. Xing Hui represented the source world, which was independent of time and space. Logically speaking, it should not have any interaction with the outside world. However, now that Xing Hui had walked out of the source world, this could only mean that the source world had been exposed. Its independent nature no longer existed, and the last spark of the immortal civilization had been extinguished by the radiation of the Master of Time, the Master of Gods, or the Master of Chaos. The source world is the last seed of the immortal civilization. Xing Hui was silent. He didn't know how to respond. However, he understood what had happened from the seven-star sword spirit's words. As the seven-star sword spirit had said, it was a war that had destroyed the entire immortal civilization. These people were fighting for the hope of attaining eternity. However, perhaps it was because Xing Hui didn't have a deep understanding of the immortal civilization, or because he was strictly speaking a son of chaos under the command of the Master of Chaos, so he didn't feel much about the immortal civilization's destruction. It was fine as long as Earth wasn't in danger. Since the source world has been destroyed, the last piece of creation jade must have fallen into their hands. When the time comes, the immortal civilization's Tao will eventually be reformed, devoured, and refined into his Tao. This will give him a chance to step into the ultimate realm. However, I'm guessing that the other terrifying beings won't let this go so easily. The world is going to be in chaos. The seven-star sword spirit sighed. I don't have much time left anyway, so let it be. I'll just follow my master. Reply to book friend Yu Shaoling, that's just a small foreshadowing. Like the dragonization fruit tree, it'll come in handy soon. Chapter 748. The Fortune Jade. Xing Hui seemed to have thought of something when he heard the seven-star sword spirit mention the Fortune Jade. He quickly asked, "Wait a minute, the Fortune Jade? What does it have to do with the Fortune Jade?" The highest lord once said that the great Tao is formless and gives birth to heaven and earth. The great Tao is emotionless and moves the sun and moon. The great Tao is nameless and nurtures all things. I don't know its name, so I named it Tao. The Tao is formless, has no rhyme, and is silent. Immortals and mortals cannot touch it. The Fortune Jade is the manifestation of the great Tao and contains 3,000 great Tao. The seven-star sword spirit looked desolate when he said this. If I'm not wrong, the Lord of Gods, the Lord of Time, and the Lord of Chaos are all collecting the Tao rhymes, and the like. There are traces of the great Tao recorded on them. Those top existences want to comprehend the mystery of these Tao rhymes and seize the opportunity to attain eternity? Indeed. The seven-star sword spirit said to Xing Hui, "When I first saw you, I felt that you were quite intelligent and your sword will was pure. Your sword will is even close to the Tao of Zenith Heaven. In addition, my spirituality is on the verge of dissipating. If I don't nourish it, I'm afraid I won't live for more than a few thousand years. Therefore, I want to nurture you and help you attain Tao, then feed your sword will back to me and extend my lifespan. For this, I didn't hesitate to consume my essence and fuse it into your body to stimulate the potential in your body. Unfortunately, the immortal civilization has been defeated. Even if you can become a Zenith Heaven Sword immortal, you're still just a drop in the ocean when looking at the big picture. Rather than that, you might as well continue on your current path of cultivation. At least you won't be labeled as a sword immortal cultivator and face death." Xing Hui was silent when he heard the seven-star sword spirit's words. He didn't expect the Fortune Jade in his possession to have such an origin. Great beings like the Lord of Chaos, the Lord of Gods, and the Lord of Time were all looking for the Fortune Jade. If any one of them obtained the Fortune Jade, an unprecedented war would break out over it. Just think of the Lord of Time, its power could radiate for 100,000 light years. What kind of level was this? Now that he had broken through to the void interpretation stage, he might be able to fly at a speed of 300,000 to 400,000 kilometers per hour. However, if he wanted to fly a distance of 1 light year, it would take him an entire 3,000 years. Even if he flew until his death, he might not be able to complete the distance. As for 100,000 light years, he could no longer imagine it with his mind. Therefore, he really didn't dare to mention the secret that he possessed the Fortune Divine Jade to the old man in front of him. Therefore, he could only say, "Cultivating the sword immortal Tao won't necessarily be labeled as an immortal Tao civilization, right? I'm very interested in the cultivation techniques of sword immortals, and I even obtained the 49 cultivation techniques of the sword Qi of Shushan by chance. Senior, please give me some pointers." 49 Great Derivation Sword Qi Cultivation Methods? The seven-star sword spirit frowned. "Senior, please take a look." Xing Hui took out the sword Qi cultivation method and handed it to the seven-star sword spirit. Although the seven-star sword spirit had very little power left in him at the moment, he was still a peak primordial unity golden immortal in the past. When he took the 49 Great Derivation Sword Qi from Xing Hui and took a look, he immediately frowned. "Where did you get this Sword Qi cultivation method? It looks passable in the beginning, but it's a bunch of nonsense towards the end." Feeding sword chi with the human body's essence is evil. The 7-star sword spirit immediately criticized. Is this sword chi not good enough? The 7-star sword spirit glanced at Xing Hui and pondered for a moment. After a while, he said, if this sword chi was placed in our time, it would be considered evil, but with your current situation, it may be possible to cultivate it. After all, this is a sword chi cultivation method that can only be cultivated up to the level of true immortal, or even false immortal. Below the level of true immortal, it's fine even if you embark on the path of immortal civilization. But once you become an immortal, it proves that you've obtained the inheritance of immortal Tao and have embarked on the path of immortal Tao. At that time, it won't be so easy to get out of it. Although the sword chi cultivation method is amazing, it's simply too arrogant. The hope of becoming a true immortal is very slim. The hope of becoming a true immortal is very slim? Xing Hui frowned. I can slightly modify it for you. In this way, the hope of becoming a true immortal will be greatly increased. At the same time, it can also make up for the drawbacks of being labeled as immortal Tao. At this point, the 7-star sword spirit suddenly stopped. Since when was the immortal Tao, which countless people dreamed of pursuing, seen as a drawback? After a long while, he let out a bitter sigh. Xing Hui came from the source world and could be considered as part of their inheritance. In addition, he had already promised Xing Hui. Now it was better to modify it slightly, then abandon the sword, seal it, and wait for death in seclusion. Thinking of this, the 7-star sword spirit picked up the 49 Great Derivation sword chi again with an indifferent expression. The reason why I said that the 49 Great Derivation sword chi had gone down the wrong path is because it requires one's essence, energy, and spirit to nourish the sword. Essence, energy, and spirit are the 3 treasures of cultivation and are extremely important. How can it be used so easily? If it's used up too much, it will damage the foundation, and there will be no hope of becoming an immortal. However, under the circumstances of not pursuing the immortal Tao, this sword chi is still quite powerful after forming a sword formation. However, his idea of using the 49 Great Taos to cultivate into the formation was a fool's dream. The Great Taos were formless and traceless. Even people like the Master of Gods and the Master of Time were not confident that they could comprehend the mysteries of the Great Taos, let alone these mere mortals. They are truly frogs in a well, thinking that fortune and opportunity will come at them as soon as they open their mouths. Therefore, I can't be bothered to modify the sword formation. I'll focus on the blood essence Tao for you. Blood essence. Yes, the territory we're in belongs to the Lord of Chaos. Although these people are considered enemies of the immortal Tao, it's undeniable that their cultivation is truly shocking. For example, the Lord of Chaos has already cultivated his own Tao to the extreme. The divine beast bloodline he passed down is also extremely powerful. Otherwise, the 12 divine beast ancestors wouldn't have become traitors. The modification method I'll give you is to collect the blood of a certain top divine beast or divine beast and use it to refine the sword chi to make up for your own shortcomings. Since the sword chi's foundation is still your essence, energy, and spirit, after the sword chi is refined with the divine beast's blood essence, you can use the power of the sword chi to refine yourself. This way, your physical strength will increase, but correspondingly, you will gradually be influenced by the divine beast's temperament. It can be fierce, cruel, or indifferent. Temperament will be influenced by divine beasts and divine beasts. It mainly depends on how you maintain this degree of control. If you cultivate a body tempering technique and let your own blood essence take the lead, the divine beasts and sacred beasts' influence on you will naturally be much smaller. At the very least, before you reach the true immortal realm, which is the divine beast bloodline cultivation path, the world creation realm, there won't be too much of a problem. I understand. Qing Su seemed to think of something when he reached there. He asked out of curiosity, Logically speaking, true immortals and those below true immortals belong to two completely different realms, so why is it that the cultivation system of the divine beasts actually refers to realms like world creation and traversing as the six divine realms, while realms above world creation are called the six chaotic realms? In the end, it's just that the systems are different. The seven-star sword spirit said faintly, before the divine beast bloodline's world creation realm, they can switch to other realms. However, once they step into the chaos realm, then they have no choice but to continue on this path. This phenomenon is mainly related to the first realm of chaos. This realm requires the cultivator to trace the origin of the divine beasts that they cultivate. The origin of these divine beasts fuses with the chaos and is turned into the precepts, becoming an existence similar to Tao, an existence similar to Tao? That's right. The 12 divine beasts are the 12 great Taos that the Chaos Master peeled off from himself for convenience. Once you reach the Chaos realm and trace back to your ancestors, it's equivalent to attaining Tao and combining Tao. Just like the 12 ancestral sorcerers in the myths and legends? Before we step into the Chaos realm, we may have cultivated the sorcerer's cultivation method, but we are not sorcerers. However, the moment we achieve chaos, it's equivalent to transforming our life form from human to sorcerer. As long as we continue to purify our own bloodline, we can become great sorcerers and ancestral sorcerers? The seven-star sword spirit looked at Xing Hui in surprise and finally nodded. That's right, that's true. Moreover, the 12 divine beasts under the Master of Chaos, the 12 Master Gods under the King of Gods, and the Master of Time's 1024 King of Eons are all of this nature. The 12 ancestral sorcerers, thinking of the 12 ancestral sorcerers, Xing Hui could not help but think of Pangu, who created the chaos world. The three great beings allowed their subordinates to imitate the 12 ancestral sorcerers. Trace back to Pangu? The great ancestor, Pan. The seven-star sword spirit lowered his head slightly, as if mentioning this name had to be filled with reverence. Why? It's just a possibility that came from the mouth of those foreign creatures. The great ancestor, Pan, transcended everything and reached the legendary end, becoming the eternity that billions of creatures pursue. Once he achieved eternity, it seemed that he would transcend to a realm that we can't describe with word. In that realm, we are like the characters in books and biographies in our eyes, endless and meaningless. The great ancestor, Pan, did not want to erase all traces of himself, so he returned to the moment before he achieved eternity and separated his past from time and space, turning it into the vast chaos world. Pangu, Pangu Gu also means ancient, the past body of ancestor Pan. This is also the reason why those terrifying foreign creatures want to trace back to Pan and obtain our world. After all, if they can trace back to ancestor Pan with this world, they may be able to witness the moment before ancestor Pan achieved eternity with their own eyes. At that time, eternity will be close at hand for them. However, this is only hearsay, because there is a refutation in this rumor. A living eternity cannot see another living eternity, so I can't explain the specific. After the seven-star sword spirit finished speaking, he waved his hand, unwilling to continue on this topic. Alright, go back and meditate on it. Just pay attention to your progress. The power of the sword chi refined cannot exceed your own by more than 49 times. That is to say, any sword chi, one-on-one, cannot exceed the sum of your essence chi. Otherwise, it will be putting the cart before the horse, and your temperament will change drastically. Xing Hui nodded. These were too far away for him, so it was meaningless to listen. He might as well take the opportunity to ask more about cultivation. I am equivalent to the life sword chi that suppresses the entire situation? When the seven-star sword spirit heard this, he was slightly stunned, but still nodded. That's a good way to put it. I understand. Xing Hui's current physical strength was equivalent to that of a 12th level sacred beast. In that case, the essence chi of each of the 49 Dian sword chis that he cultivated would be maintained below that of a 12th level sacred beast. However, this did not mean that the 49 Dian sword chis were only equivalent to 40 Hydra sacred beasts. Don't forget, the essence chi was only a part of the 49 Dian sword chis. It also included the two major attributes, such as primordial chi and spiritual energy. When these three attributes were combined, it could definitely push his sword chi to a level that was not weaker than the divine realm. In other words, he alone was equivalent to 49 divine beings. If he used these 49 sword chis to form a sword formation, even a void-shattering expert would have to avoid the attack. The power is indeed not bad. However, my spiritual energy level has already broken through to the 160th level. In a head-on fight, I am not inferior to a void-shattering expert. If I use the transformation technique, when Xing Hui thought of this, he immediately relaxed. He understood that the moment his spiritual energy level reached the 160th level, the problem of the way of heaven was basically solved. Chapter 749. Unfortunately, my time in the Xia Empire is too short, and I don't have much time and talent to study spirit techniques and secret spirit technique. Otherwise, with my current spirit strength, it should be easy to tear apart the void with my spirit. With the help of secret spirit techniques, I can even defeat all the practitioners below the vacuum-shattering realm. Xing Hui discovered that his talent in spirit refinement was not very outstanding. If he was placed in the Xia Empire to practice the spirit ability system without any foundation, he estimated that he would only be a mid-level spirit ability user when he died of old age. Okay, you can go now. The 7-star sword spirit waved his hand dispiritedly. Then I won't disturb Senior 7-star anymore. Goodbye. Xing Hui bowed slightly and left. Seeing Xing Hui leave, the 7-star sword spirit stayed in his palace with empty eyes, speechless for a long time. At this moment, the long torment finally came to an end. He didn't want to verify it, nor did he dare to verify it. Since he had waited for the result, the torment in his heart could finally end. After witnessing with his own 2 eyes the fall of those lofty and mighty existences in his heart, he'd already lost all his previous lofty ambitions. He was just a small Tai sword spirit. That's all. Then that's it. Xing Hui walked out along the path in front of him. He was now inside the Myriad Swords Peak, but the entire Myriad Swords Peak was filled with omnipresent space laws. These space laws were densely packed and intertwined with each other. They were much more compact than the space laws outside, but in terms of stability, they couldn't be compared to the outside world. Xing Hui muttered to himself. This was a world similar to a grotto heaven. However, compared to the Shushan Grotto Heaven and Kunlun Grotto Heaven that spanned thousands of kilometers, the world formed by the 7-star sword spirit was undoubtedly much smaller. This world was probably too much for the 7-star sword spirit. Xing Hui came out of this world and happened to appear on the Myriad Swords Peak. However, when he arrived at the Myriad Swords Peak, he was surprised to find that there were many people there. Not only Hidden Sword Venerable, but even Hidden Truth Exalted, who was supposed to be in the sky, was there too. As Xing Hui appeared, Hidden Sword Venerable, Zhang Zhen Exalted, and the others were stunned. In the next moment, they rushed over and said, Xing Hui, you've finally come out of seclusion. That great sword spirit actually let you stay for so long? Xing Hui's heart skipped a beat as he hurriedly asked, How long have I been in the Myriad Swords Peak? Not that long, just 4 years. But you haven't been cultivating for that long, and we haven't been able to contact you in the Chaos Temple. That's why we were a little worried. But as Hidden Sword Venerable said, you're fine, that's great. 4 years. Xing Hui's heart trembled when he heard this. 4 years had actually passed? Just like that, a quarter of his 16-year deadline had passed just like that? But he clearly felt that he had not spent much time with the 7-star sword spirit. Wait a minute. Xing Hui recalled every moment when he struggled to wake up from the nightmare. At that time, not only was he mentally weak, but his body was also extremely weak. That kind of weakness, one of the reasons was that he had overexerted himself. Another reason was that he had not eaten for too long. 4 years. He had actually been in a coma for 4 whole years. 4 years was nothing to the 7-star sword spirit, so he did not even mention it. But to Xing Hui, it was extremely important. It's actually been 4 years. It's only 4 years, it's nothing. Sometimes, when we're in seclusion to study certain secret techniques, we'll be in seclusion for decades at a time. Hidden Sword Venerable comforted. In order to comprehend the limitless sword Tao, he had spent hundreds of years cultivating it. That was equivalent to the total amount of time Xing Hui had spent cultivating it. Xing Hui, have you met the Great Sword Spirit? Do you know? Hidden Sword Venerable asked hesitantly. I'll pass on the sword technique that the Sword Spirit gave me to you. However, Sword Venerable, this sword technique, I'm afraid it's not suitable for you. You'll have to spend more effort to polish it. It's fine, it's fine. As long as I can see this supreme sword technique, I'll die without regrets. I don't ask for anything else. Hidden Sword Venerable quickly waved his hand. Xing Hui, it's great that you're fine. I'll pass on the news to Zhuzhao, Tianqiong, Bai Heng, Xing Yi, and Qing Ying. As Hidden Sword Venerable Master spoke, he had already split a portion of his consciousness into the Chaos Temple. When Xing Hui followed Hidden Sword Venerable Master to the Hidden Sword sect, he had also split a portion of his consciousness into the Chaos Temple. Due to the fact that he had set up a constant flow of energy from the Fortune Jade into the Sun of Chaos, he was able to maintain his chaotic level. As a result, he was still at the astonishing 70th level of the chaotic level. Moreover, apart from the 70th level, the accumulation of Taoist rhymes in the Creation Divine Jade had reached close to 6,000. That's right. In addition to maintaining the chaotic level, his Taoist rhymes had increased by 4 per day for 4 years. The Taoist rhymes on his Creation Divine Jade had reached 6,000. If this number were to spread out, it would be simply sensational. The Creation Divine Jade. Xing Hui looked at the Taoist rhymes in the Creation Divine Jade. Not only did he not feel happy, but he also felt a sense of dread. The Divine Creation Jade was a supreme divine treasure that supreme existences like the Master of Chaos, the Master of Time, and the Master of Gods were trying to find. Yet now, it was in the hands of a nobody like him who couldn't even be considered as a true immortal. Once it was exposed to the outside world, it would absolutely cause an unprecedented storm. He wondered if his Son of Chaos level would attract the attention of the Master of Chaos. If the Master of Chaos really set his sights on him, he couldn't guarantee that the Creation Divine Jade hidden in his spiritual world would be able to fool him. More than 6,000 Taoist rhymes is not a small number. I have to use it as soon as possible. Immortal techniques immediately flowed through Xing Hui's mind. He now understood that the Creation Divine Jade contained 3,000 great Taos and was a carrier of them. Although the Creation Divine Jade in his hand was not complete, its ability to deduce and assist in the cultivation of immortal techniques was incredible. It was no wonder that he could improve by leaps and bounds with the help of the Creation Divine Jade when cultivating immortal techniques that were difficult to understand. Now that there were close to 6,000 Taoist rhymes in the Creation Divine Jade, he had to use them all and convert them into his own strength as soon as possible. Otherwise, the interface of the Son of Chaos would constantly remind him that he had close to 6,000 Taoist rhymes. After a long time, who knew if the Master of Chaos, whose power radiated across billions of galaxies, would cast his sights on him because of this abnormality? Sword Venerable, under the guidance of the Great Sword Spirit, I still have some insights in my heart. I still need to go into seclusion for a while. I'm afraid I won't be able to discuss the mystery of the 49 Great Derivation Sword Chi with you during this time. After returning to the Hidden Sword Sect, Tsing Hui said with a regretful expression, "You still want to go into seclusion?" Zhang Zhen, who had followed him, could not help but be a little stunned when he heard Tsing Hui's words. However, after a moment, he had already realized that he had lost his composure and hurriedly said, "Yes, yes, yes. You've received guidance from the Great Sword Spirit. Now is the critical moment of comprehending the sword technique. You should go into seclusion to digest and consolidate it." Although Zhang Zhen's abnormality was quickly concealed, Tsing Hui still noticed it. He immediately asked, "Zhang Zhen, what's wrong? Is there something wrong?" It's not a big deal." Zhang Zhen hesitated for a moment, but felt that there was no point in concealing it any longer since he had already revealed a flaw. He immediately sighed. "In the past 4 years, our Heaven Wasteland domain has not been peaceful." "Not peaceful." Is it not peaceful to the extent that there are people who have designs on our Heaven Domain 4 sects? 4 years ago, of course they did not have the gut. The Heavenly Tao was scared by us and went into hiding. The Eternal and Divine Wilderness were also afraid of you and Zhu Zhao, and did not dare to easily offend us. However, a year ago the situation changed. Hearing this, Tsing Hui saw the worried look on Zhang Zhen's face, and his heart skipped a beat. Someone has broken through to the shattering vacuum realm? The Heavenly Tao? The Eternal? Or the Divine Wilderness? Chaos Holy Man of the Heavenly Tao was forced out of his closed-door training at a critical moment, so his breakthrough to the void-shattering realm was delayed. However, Eternal Emperor Tai and Divine Lord Primordial Wilderness of the Divine Wilderness were not disturbed by anyone. They both stepped into the void-shattering realm a year ago and 3 months ago. The great Emperor Tai won the Divine Wilderness. Qing Su was rather surprised when he heard that, but he did not feel any fear or dread. Although the 7-star sword spirit did not teach him much in the past 4 years, it had stimulated his life potential and raised his physique from level 10 to level 12, 2 whole levels. In addition, his mental strength had soared from level 149 to level 160, which was a number above the void-shattering realm. With these changes, he was confident that he could defeat any void-shattering realm expert from Tai and Ancient Baron even if he did not use the shape-shifting art. If he used the shape-shifting art as well, the great Emperor Tai 1 and the Divine Wilderness are really lucky. Logically speaking, the chaotic Tao Master should be the first to break through to the shattering vacuum realm. However, after our interference, they have seized the opportunity. However, even if the great Emperor Tai 1 and the Divine Wilderness have broken through to the shattering vacuum realm, they should not dare to act rashly to attack our Heaven Domain 4 sects. After all, I have the transformation technique. Under the situation that the Heavenly Tao is a great enemy, they should not act rashly and make new enemies. Tsing Hui asked. However, Master Zhang sighed. Your guess is logically correct, but the spies should not have leaked the news that we have the heart of the world in the Heaven Domain 4 sects. All these years, the Eternals have been trying to find ways to collect void crystals and other items. When they learned that we had the World Core, 2 months ago, Emperor Tai personally came to ask for it. In the end, esteemed Zhu Zhao stepped forward and fought with him. If it weren't for Sword Master Bai Heng and Sword Master Qingying rushing over to help, and the fact that our Sky Dome Mountain's protective array is somewhat powerful, I'm afraid, esteemed Zhu Zhao would have met his end. The background was basically explained. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.